He was once the sole warrior who led the divine game. For 11 long years, he fought relentlessly to usher the world into a new era, and he finally became its winner. But when he cleared this hero-less game, the true final chapter unexpectedly descended upon the real world. System message: the Tower of Trials. Reboot version has been updated. All players must clear the next floor within 90 days. If the game ends in failure, humanity will face extinction as punishment. While others trembled in fear, Kang Jin-hyuk had already set off toward the real underground dungeon. The starting neutral item, Greed-Rooted Tree, bears fruits that each grant unique attribute boosts. Every beginner dreams of obtaining one of these reward fruits. Yet in reality, only 4 fruits exist on the entire tree. Naturally, such rare treasures would drive players to fight desperately over them. But Jin-hyuk didn't care about the struggle, because he knew a secret. The true hidden reward was buried here. The moment someone plucked a fruit, the greed-rooted tree let out a horrifying shriek, and countless vines erupted upward, launching a savage feast of slaughter. As the world's only greed-rooted tree began its ruthless slaughter, the survivors could only retreat in terror, fleeing from the monstrous aberration. Yet Jin-hyuk moved forward instead, beginning his secret mission to claim the hidden reward. The tree instantly sensed danger and lashed out with its roots. But as a veteran player with 11 years of experience, Jin-hyuk knew its every attack pattern. With a single sidestep, he dodged cleanly. Just as he was about to reach the tree, countless vines surged toward him from every direction. Moving with deadly precision, Jin-hyuk twisted and slipped past the strikes, even using the impact of the tree's own attack to counterstrike against it. The greed-rooted tree howled in agony, and its glowing core was finally exposed. "All right, then," Jin-hyuk said calmly. "Hand over the hidden reward," quietly. At the same time, the greed-rooted tree went completely berserk. Crimson vines lashed toward Jin-hyuk once again, whipping through the air like blades. Such attacks could have easily killed any beginner, but to a veteran like him, they were nothing more than the dying throes of a doomed beast. With a swift dash forward, Jin-hyuk drove his weapon straight into the tree's exposed core. The tree let out a piercing, heart-wrenching scream. Without hesitation, Jin-hyuk struck again with full force. In that instant, the once lush tree began to wither and decay. A familiar monster defeated, notification chimed as the towering tree crumbled to ruin. From the ashes, a glowing essence would pellet materialized in his hand. Regular fruits from the greed tree could only grant 3 random stat points. But this essence pellet was different. It provided 12 points that could be freely distributed. Without hesitation, Jin-hyuk swallowed the pellet whole. A wave of vibrant green energy surged through his veins. When the surge subsided, a new force was born. The world's first true level 1 Supreme player. He quickly opened his player status window, eager to see if the bonus stats had been applied. Though he was still only level 1, the 12 bonus points he now had made him the strongest beginner in existence. His next destination was clear: the museum, the place with the highest concentration of treasures. The mana that had overflowed from the Tower of Trials had spread across the entire planet. While most people remained unaffected, one phenomenon had changed the world beyond recognition. That change was this: ancient artifacts outside the tower had turned into sacred relics. Of course, they weren't the true relics capable of destroying worlds. Those remained sealed deep within the tower, while the ones outside were nothing more than replicas. The museum housed the largest collection of these relics, effectively serving as a massive treasure vault. But there was a problem. Countless others had set their sights on it. There might be 7 greed trees scattered across the city, but there was only one museum. Naturally, treasure hunters from all over the world would flock here. And among them, there would surely be some top-tier players. Before long, Jin-hyuk arrived at a soft chime echoed in his ear's frowny face. "You've entered the treasure zone." Yet the place was far quieter than he'd imagined. Moments later, he stumbled upon a completely charred corpse. confirmation that someone had already made it here before him. The reality was far worse than he'd imagined. Someone had the nerve to kill within a single day. Most people here had come for the Great Dongyu map. The map detailed the Tower of Trials. Mazes, ruins, gear, even monsters. Everything laid bare. Tea became a coveted prize, though it only covered the first 10 floors. On the museum's second floor, a mob was tearing each other apart over the relics. Into the chaos strode a burly man who cut them off and growled. Anyone who moves dies. Threats like that didn't pacify this crowd. Some raised weapons to put him in his place. The burly man slammed his fists together in fury. Refuse the toast, and you get punished, he roared. Before anyone could react, his sleeves burst open and his arms turned to stone. The hammer-wielding youth nearby flinched. This man clearly had an innate ability. The burly man radiated murderous intent, as if to declare, "The physical map is mine. Stand in my way, and you die." A calm voice replied from down the hall. Turning, they saw a bent old man walking slowly toward them. The burly man sneered. "Old man like you, I could snap you with one hand, easier than twisting a bottle cap." The old man chuckled, flicked his tongue, and said, "Then let's see who's faster." As soon as he spoke, the old man flicked his finger upward. Instantly, a small flame ignited in midair. He extended his palm and gently blew toward it. The flame shot forward like an arrow. In an instant, it engulfed the burly man. Fire burst from his eyes, ears, and mouth. Within barely 2.5 seconds, his body was reduced to charcoal. Only the gold chain around his neck remained untouched. The old man sighed softly. "Young man, next time, respect your elders, and don't play with fire." Just then, his teammate Lee Yuri arrived. "Leave the rest to me," she said calmly. She placed a small Anubis statue on the ground. Pouring her mana into it, she murmured coldly, "Eliminate every nuisance here." The statue glowed a deep crimson. In the next moment, it transformed into a massive black hound traced with golden lines. Lee Yuri smiled faintly at the terrified crowd. "So, will you hand over the goods, or do I make you?" Seeing yet another powerhouse awaken, the remaining players immediately dropped their weapons and surrendered. He strolled casually through the crowd, glancing left and right as if inspecting a market stall. At last, he found the sacred relic. Thankfully, it hadn't been damaged in the chaos. Lee Yuri's face darkened. "Anubis," she hissed, "kill him." The summoned guardian raised its spear and hurled it straight toward him. The weapon tore through the air, but he didn't even flinch. With a casual sweep of his palm, he deflected the spear effortlessly. Lee Yuri's eyes widened. She hadn't expected that at all. He smirked. "Looks like your little dog just lost its only toy." Furious, Lee Yuri dug into her backpack and pulled out 4 more Anubis statues at once. The revived guardians formed a wall around her, like loyal bodyguards. He let out a low chuckle. Not bad, this girl can control 5 beasts with barely any mana. And that old man from before, he mused. Didn't expect so many elites had already outgrown the new beast stage. Then, he drew out the sacred relic he had just obtained. He channeled mana into the pine tiger relic. A majestic tiger materialized beside him, its presence radiating power. "Mere desert jackals," he said coldly, daring to bare their fangs before the Mountain King. He raised a finger and ordered coldly, "Tear them all apart." The mountain tiger roared and lunged forward with explosive force. The Anubis hounds barked in unison, almost as if returning the gesture before death. The tiger's claws swung high. With a wet crunch, one Anubis's skull was crushed to pulp. Then the beast tore into the pack like a storm, devouring them one by one with savage precision. Within moments, not a single Anubis remained standing. Lee Yuri stood frozen, trembling in terror. She had never seen a sacred relic used in such a brutal way. The sheer pressure radiating from the mountain tiger felt as if it could tear her skin apart. With a dull thud, she collapsed to the ground. She had always believed the statues were the strongest relics here. He approached her slowly and said calmly, "Now then, hand over Tutankhamun's mask." After a brief, friendly exchange with the tiger. He finally obtained a replica of Tutankhamun's mask that made 2 sacred relics in his possession. He then commanded the mountain tiger to guard the area. No one was to follow. Now, he murmured, it's time to claim the tower's ultimate skill. Moments later, he was already standing silently beside the old man, both staring at the glowing barrier ahead. The old man looked stunned, unable to fathom how he'd arrived here. Had Li Yuri really been defeated? Jin Hyuk didn't care what he thought. His focus was entirely on the shimmering barrier before them. A 1-star barrier, he muttered. It was his first time seeing such a formation. The old man warned, neither magic nor physical attacks will work on this one. He ignored the old man's warning. This barrier was a place where mana itself flowed in reverse. I have a way to break the seal, he said calmly, but there's one condition. You'll need to keep casting fire-type magic, only that can weaken the barrier structure. And you can't stop until I've gone inside and retrieved the relic. The old man hesitated for a moment, then nodded. After all his struggles, he couldn't afford to walk away empty-handed. With a roar, flames erupted from his hands. Boom! The blast slammed into the barrier. Crack! A jagged fissure split open before them. Seizing the moment, Jin Hyuk dashed through the gap and slipped inside. The interior was completely untouched, nothing like the second floor's chaos. Only one thing was missing, a steel sword engraved with the word Jianlong. So, that kid already made it through, he murmured. This barrier must have been his doing. A faint smile crossed his face, but even he doesn't know, the relic he took was only second tier. In his palm glimmered an ancient string of Shangping Tongbao coins. With this, I can craft my own unique ability. The final piece of the ultimate skill, along with the Persian mold and the right eye of Tutankhamun's mask. Once fused, they'll form the true Eye, Class 2S. It lets me view other players' status windows and detect whether they're lying. Usable 3 times a day. There are 5 eyes in this world, he said softly, and the true Eye is the strongest of them all. As the 3 sacred relics merged together, a notification echoed in his mind. Hidden quest completed. He had unlocked the tower's most powerful ability, Fusion, which had now become his unique skill. With this, completing certain quests would allow him to copy other players' unique skills and abilities, storing them within the world's memory. Through Fusion, he could combine them into even stronger powers. Meanwhile, the old man outside was barely holding on. Are you done yet? Hurry up and get out, he shouted. Jin Hyuk smirked. Perfect timing. He'd been wanting to test how skill replication actually worked. The system displayed a hint. Target is one who hides emotions behind a mask. Reveal his true feelings to copy his power. In other words, piss him off. He turned to the old man. You can stop casting now, he said casually. Actually, you never needed to do that in the first place. What do you mean? The old man asked, confused. Karpo, Jin Hyuk shouted. The barrier shattered instantly. The very word was the deactivation chant. The real reason he'd made the old man keep casting was simple, to drain his mana completely. And now, the man was running on fumes. To push him over the edge, Jin Hyuk ignited the Great Dongyu map, the very treasure the old man had spent his life searching for. I can't let anyone threaten my advantage, he murmured coldly. You damned brat! I'll kill you, the old man roared, completely consumed by rage. System message. Emotional trigger detected. Replication condition fulfilled. Skill fire element successfully copied. The fire element granted control over flames and increased resistance to heat. An impressive power indeed. The old man tried once more to summon his fire element skill. Jin Hyuk smirked. You still don't get why I burned the map, do you? A moment later, his own fire element ignited. Flames roared skyward from the burning map. Though it was the same spell, the old man could feel it. His opponent's power was on a completely different level. He swallowed hard, his voice trembling. Who are you? Jin Hyuk's tone was calm but cold. If you want to climb the tower and live to tell the tale, you'll follow my lead. As for you and that girl on the second floor, focus on leveling up that I'll contact you when the time comes. Moments later, Jin Hyuk stepped out of the museum, his mission a complete success. As he walked down the dim street, his thoughts turned to the future. Now that he possessed fusion, the power to replicate other skills, he needed to organize every ability in existence by priority. The plan was simple. Copy what he needed most first. He knew he couldn't monopolize every opportunity, but the strongest, most vital skills, he wouldn't let a single one slip away. A growl from his stomach broke his focus. He ducked into a nearby fast food joint. The TV above the counter blared breaking news. Another sacred relic vault had been breached. Across the globe, every relic storage facility was reporting the same attacks. The TV suddenly switched to new footage. Jin Hyuk's battle against other players. Everyone in the restaurant froze, eyes wide. No way someone that powerful actually exists. The broadcast continued. The government had begun a full-scale investigation into the Tower of Trials, forming a new division composed of awakened individuals, the Awakeners Association. From that alone, Jin Hyuk understood. The authorities had finally accepted it. The world had truly turned into a game. Then a new figure appeared on screen, introducing himself. "I am Han Sang-jin, president of the Awakeners Association." His announcement was clear. He was recruiting skilled awakeners to work for the government, with a starting salary of 60 million won. But then he added, except for the man shown the footage earlier. Han Sang-jin looked directly into the camera. "On behalf of the association, I make this offer to that individual. Join us, and we will grant you anything you desire. Would you delete the game character you've spent 5 years building?" That man now faced the same impossible choice. His game had reached a dead end. After countless replays and analysis, he finally realized his character had been doomed from the very beginning. To clear the game, he had to start over. But deleting that account meant erasing 5 years of hard work. Still, if he didn't, he would never reach the END. Oh, he made the hardest choice of all. Delete and start again. Now, with the Tower of Trials manifesting in reality, he faced another challenge beyond the screen. Familiar as ever, he headed straight for the place that had once forced him to reset everything. The Labyrinth of Labyrinthos. To conquer the 30th floor, he needed one crucial key, and it was hidden deep within this maze. Just thinking about what awaited inside made Jin Hyuk's temples ache. But despite his hesitation, his body moved on instinct, pushing open the heavy stone door. Soft blue lights flickered to life, illuminating the dark corridor. He raised his hand, and a luminescent moth landed gently on his palm. His eyes suddenly sharpened. Turning around, he saw a group of strangers standing silently behind him. "Who are you?" he asked, his tone cold. The woman in front quickly explained that they had only entered because the labyrinth door had been left open. In truth, though, they had been watching Jin Hyuk activate the maze from a distance. Seeing that he was alone, they'd planned to ambush him and steal whatever treasures he found. Jin Hyuk could read their intentions easily, that he activated the true eye to check if any of them were worth keeping alive. When his gaze landed on the status panel of a woman named Park Hana, he found something intriguing, a skill that allowed her to build emotional affinity with others. That could come in handy later, he thought, recalling a certain woman he might need to manipulate. He decided to copy her empathic bond skill. The replication condition appeared. Stay in close proximity with Park Hana for 240 continuous hours. Seeing this, Jin Hyuk suppressed his killing intent and instead flashed a warm, friendly smile, introducing himself cheerfully. Park Hana and the others followed suit, each giving their names. Of course, Jin Hyuk had no real intention of trusting them. Every one of these teammates was a potential pawn to be sacrificed. Then Park Hana suddenly leaned in, her voice soft and playful. "Appa," she said sweetly, sidling closer. "When you played this game before," she asked, "how far did you get in the tower?" As she spoke, she wrapped her arm around his, activating the empathic bond. The atmosphere between them shifted instantly. Closer, warmer, with a faint trace of dangerous intimacy. "You think I've cleared as many floors as I say I have?" Jin Hyuk sneered. Realizing how the empathic bond actually triggered, he shoved Park Hana away without hesitation. Park Hana froze, confused and embarrassed. How could her skill not affect him at all? Trying to cover the awkwardness, she quickly asked, "So, what kind of monsters or traps does this maze have?" Jin Hyuk nodded slightly. "The biggest feature of this labyrinth," he said calmly, "is that it shifts its layout every so often." The others looked puzzled, not quite understanding what he meant. Then, the ground beneath them started to quake violently. The walls and stone pillars around them began to move, grinding against each other with a deafening rumble. The violent shaking threw the group off balance. Panic filled the air. When the tremors finally stopped, several people were gone. Swallowed by the maze itself, one of the survivors stammered, "How can a level 1 tower dungeon be this hard?" Park Hana quickly ordered the scout of the group to use her detection ability to find a way out. But the woman's voice trembled. I can't. My skill won't activate." Jin Hyuk simply watched them with a cold smile. So, he thought, it's about time that thing showed up. Park Hana stormed up to Jin Hyuk, her face twisted with anger. "Why didn't you tell us the maze could shift?" "Because of you, we almost died in there," she shouted. The rest of the group glared at him, voices rising in accusation. Jin Hyuk only smirked. "Oh, did I ever ask you to follow me?" One of the men snapped and lunged forward, ready to attack. But before he could take a step, whoosh, a massive blood-stained axe whirled through the air and embedded itself in the wall beside him. The man dropped dead where he stood. Then came a thunderous roar. A minotaur emerged from the darkness, its crimson eyes burning like fire. The pressure it exuded was suffocating. Several players could barely stand. Park Hana trembled, her face pale with despair. At that instant, Jin Hyuk stepped forward, straight toward the monster. Gasps echoed all around as the minotaur raised its colossal axe and brought it crashing down on him. He dodged by a hair's breadth, the weapon splitting the floor where he just stood. A crisp ding sounded in his mind. Hidden skill acquired. Gap? This was it, the key ability he had come to claim all along. The man faced the dungeon boss but made no move to attack, only to dodge. Each successful evasion granted him 0.05 points in the gap attribute. Every 3 points of gap reduced the level difference between him and higher-tier monsters by 1. It was a deadly, high-risk method, but for a level 1 player, it was the fastest way to grow stronger. As someone who had once cleared the entire game, Jin Hyuk knew every attack pattern the Minotaur possessed. But that wasn't enough for him. He wanted the ultimate test, those perfect dodges that could earn a full point of gap in one move. His display of precision and madness left Park Hana and her group frozen in disbelief. Whispering among themselves, they quietly decided to slip away while he was distracted. Going somewhere, Jin Hyuk's calm voice froze them in place. Pointing at the Minotaur behind him, he grinned. "Dodge its attacks, and you'll get a hidden skill. Come on, good things are meant to be shared, right?" The Minotaur roared and swung its colossal axe. The weapon whooshed through the air like a storm, slicing toward the group. The walls cracked open with a thunderous sound, dust and blood scattering everywhere. Jin Hyuk, unfazed, called out casually, "Run, Park Hana. Standing still won't save you." Then he turned to the Minotaur and smirked. "Right, big guy?" The beast glared at him, muscles tightening as it prepared another strike. But before it could move, the entire maze began to tremble once more. The labyrinth's shifting cycle had begun. Walls rotated and slid into place, sealing off the Minotaur from Jin Hyuk and the others. On the other side, the beast howled in fury, its rage echoing through the twisting corridors. On the other side, Park Hana realized only 2 of them were left alive. Her heart was still pounding. "That thing, it's not coming after us, right?" she asked nervously. Jin Hyuk replied calmly. "I touched the powder on that luminous moth earlier. It'll keep drawing the Minotaur toward us." "Are you insane?" Park Hana shouted. "Why would you do that?" Jin Hyuk gave her a blank, almost pitying look. "Obviously, to rack up more reward points. When a maze shifts, that's your break time. Then, when a Minotaur catches up again, You dodge. Simple. Park Hana stared at him, horrified. How long do we have to keep repeating that? Until we leave the labyrinth, he said casually. Should be about a month. The thought of surviving 30 days in this nightmare made her skin crawl. She and her companion exchanged a look. Maybe it was better to get away from this lunatic and find another exit. Jin Hyuk chuckled softly. Wandering aimlessly might be even more dangerous, you know. His voice dripped with dark amusement. And after a long pause, Park Hana gritted her teeth and decided to stay with him. But remember, Jin Hyuk added with a grin, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Even a bus ride costs money, so hand over your coins. Coins were the tower's universal currency. Interestingly, players could earn them by uploading clear videos or live streaming their runs, earning coins at a 100-to-1 view ratio. Of course, falsifying data brought severe, system-level punishments. Taking the coins from Park Hana and the others, Jin Hyuk opened the trading hub interface immediately. Next, Jin Hyuk planned to use his memories from the original game to craft an S-rank weapon. To recreate the one he remembered, he bought 3 junk items from the marketplace for 450 coins total. Then, he whispered combine equipment. A blinding light erupted before him. System message. You have obtained Wheel of Fortune, Goddess of Luck. The wheel could boost his luck stat to the maximum for 10 minutes, though its effect radius was limited. But as a former in-game veteran, Jin Hyuk knew exactly how to push its limits. As the wheel spun, the system confirmed his luck had reached its cap. He then pulled out 10 enhancement scroll boxes, using them all on his short sword in one go. 10 consecutive success chimes rang out. Congratulations, you've created +10 rusted short sword. As the first +10 weapon on the server, you are rewarded 5,000 coins. Your achievement will be featured on the global rankings for 24 hours. Jin Hyuk twirled the blade in his hand, smiling faintly. Time to farm more gap points. 10 days later, Park Hana and the other survivor looked utterly broken. Every single day, they were hunted by the Minotaur. Every few hours, they endured the life-threatening shifts of the maze. Their meals consisted of nothing but mushrooms and moss. Feeling she couldn't take it any longer, Park Hana finally reached out to her guild for help. Inside the Tower of Trials, all outside communication was completely cut off. The guild couldn't reach them. Even if they tried, it would take at least 3 weeks to get there. That was when a dangerous thought crossed Park Hana's mind. If we kill Jin Hyuk and hide in the maze, maybe we can survive until rescue arrives. The problem was how to kill him. When he's asleep, the man beside her whispered, "That's our best chance." He picked up a stone, ready to smash it down on Jin Hyuk's sleeping head. But Park Hana stopped him. "His reflexes are inhuman," she said coldly. "The moment we move, he'll wake up and kill us first." The man frowned. "Then what do we do?" Park Hana smirked and pulled something from her pack. A giant wasp's venom stinger, a weapon said to kill 100 beasts with a single drop. "If we're doing this," she whispered, "we're doing it right." The next morning, Jin Hyuk sat by the campfire, staring at a bowl of stir-fried mushrooms and moss. "Feels like I'm doing a wilderness survival show," he muttered. He took a bite, then casually told the man to get him another helping, and asked Park Hana to fetch him some water. Park Hana cursed silently. What a damn nuisance. She watched closely as Jin Hyuk ate, the mushrooms laced with deadly wasp venom. Slowly, a triumphant smile crept across her face. The wooden bowl slipped from his hand and crashed to the ground. Blood splattered across the dirt. The man beside them clutched his throat in agony, convulsing violently before collapsing lifelessly to the floor. Jin Hyuk let out a cold chuckle. "Idiot. You really thought I'd just eat what you served me?" Moments earlier, while asking the man to pass him food, he had already switched their plates. Then, Jin Hyuk opened a report interface in his system menu. The livestream feature is only meant for boss challenges on the next floor. Using it secretly like you did? Yeah, that's a violation. Park Hana glared back, trembling. "You don't have proof." Jin Hyuk smirked. "Maybe work on your face next time. Your expression gave it all away." Park Hana, "I'm honestly disappointed." He tapped confirm report. Instantly, a red warning light flared around her body. At the same time, the anonymous mode on her live stream was forcibly disabled. Within seconds, every viewer was forcibly ejected from the broadcast. System alert. Further violations will result in the replacement penalty. Cruel fate. The same woman who tried to poison him seconds ago was now panicking, begging for help, as the enraged Minotaur thundered toward them. Please, tell me where it's safe, she screamed. Jin Hyuk scoffed. Why should I tell you? Park Hana hesitated, trembling. But you used to tell me everything before. Jin Hyuk had helped Park Hana earlier only to fulfill the 240-hour companionship requirement. Now that the task was complete, he'd copied her empathic bond. Park Hana was useless to him. Panicking, she blurted out that her brother belonged to the Crow Guild, pleading for protection. The Minotaur answered with a single brutal axe strike, in order to shut her up. Jin Hyuk launched into the air, exhaling a cold snort. Fine, he said flatly. Let's see which is scarier, your stupid guild or me. With that, he exploded into motion, slashing at the beast's neck. The cut wasn't deep, but it had broken through the Minotaur's guard. He thought to himself, the gap stacks weren't wasted. It wasn't enough to finish the creature yet, but keep stacking gap through dodges, and eventually even this monster could fall. He had another trick to speed up the process, a sudden fireball to blind and disrupt. As the Minotaur's vision faltered, Jin Hyuk flashed in. His blade ripped through the creature's Achilles tendon at the horn. The Minotaur crashed down. Jin Hyuk taunted, Stop frolicking. Once you bulk up, you're not so tender anymore. The beast answered with a furious, guttural rumble. Jin Hyuk whispered, Almost there. In the next instant, a deafening roar filled the maze. The Guardian Minotauros triggered LV-10, Berserk. LV-10 Berserk boosts the Minotaur's attack speed, and movement speed by 30% for 5 minutes, and temporarily raises its intelligence, granting it speech. The Minotaur bellowed, Human, I'll tear you apart, spill your blood across this dungeon, and never again allow you to trespass. The roar sent a chill through everyone. Death hung heavy in the air. Amid the roaring clash of battle, Jin Hyuk whispered calmly, Come on then. The Minotaur roared and brought its axe down in a thunderous arc. Jin Hyuk charged straight in, meeting the blow head-on. Steel crashed against steel in a shower of sparks. Park Hana stood frozen in disbelief. A boss with a level 10 skill or higher was something even the entire Crow Guild couldn't defeat. Yet Jin Hyuk was fighting alone and winning. What shocked her most was the expression on his face. He was smiling. His mind was perfectly calm, steady as still water. Maybe what he had always hated wasn't fighting itself, but the real world, where no matter how hard he ran, he never moved forward. Here, in this world, effort was rewarded instantly. His gap stat had now reached 57 points, narrowing the level difference by 19 ranks, making the fight flow naturally in his favor. The Minotaur seized an opening behind him and swung for his back. Jin Hyuk landed smoothly. The monster's fist stopped mid-air, frozen inches from his face. Its berserk timer had expired. Though the form granted immense, temporary power, once over, the user fell into a 24-hour pseudo-death state. Jin Hyuk sheathed his blade, staring at the glowing stat window, showing 57 gap points. A faint grin crossed his lips. 20 more days, he thought. That'll be enough to reach a full 100. So, it's over? Park Hana asked cautiously. Jin Hyuk chuckled. Didn't I say we'd be here for a full month? We've still got 20 days left. 20 days later, even though each dodge now only earned 0.015 gap points. He finally hit the goal, 100 gap points in total. With one decisive punch, Jin Hyuk struck the Minotaur square in the jaw, ending his month-long evasion training once and for all. Standing atop the fallen beast's horn, he looked genuinely pleased. Now, he muttered, there's just one issue left. What to do with Park Hana? Tell me, he asked coolly. How would you treat someone who betrayed you? Then, with a faint smirk, he added, my new company's recruiting interns. If you can prove your worth, I might let you live. Panicking, Park Hana blurted out, My empathic bond skill. It increases affinity with others. It could help with company management. Already copied that. Jin Hyuk replied flatly. Anything else? I'll never betray you again, she stammered to Jin Hyuk's side quietly. Pathetic. As her face went pale with fear, he said calmly, then I hereby declare, our company's first intern class will not include Brahm's ring, she screamed, cutting him off. I can give you Brahm's ring. My brother traded it with the N-Nation using rare Giri ginseng. Please spare me. Jin Hyuk's eyes flickered. Brahm's ring, one of the strongest artifacts available on the first floor, IT enhanced movement speed, boosted magic resistance, and even weakened enemy stats. Activating his true eye, Jin Hyuk confirmed she was telling the truth. Congratulations, he said with a grin. Welcome to Boss Company, as an intern. But, he added sharply, we don't pay interns, and whenever I call you, no matter if it's 3 a.m. or you're on some beach, you show up. Park Hana blinked in confusion. Jin Hyuk continued. Of course, we'll need to sign a contract first. Jin Hyuk brought up the skills he'd copied, empathic bond and fire element, and initiated a fusion. System alert. You have acquired Soul Brand. Warning, it might hurt. Park Hana still didn't understand what kind of contract he meant. Jin Hyuk smiled faintly. You didn't really think I'd make you sign on paper, did you? Welcome, he said coldly, to my black-hearted company. Her scream tore through the air as the system chimed frowny face, Soul Brand successfully engraved on target. Soul Brand. The branded must obey every order from the caster. Any disobedience results in being burned alive in unbearable agony. The labyrinth's gates slowly opened, and sunlight streamed through for the first time in 30 days. Park Hana, finally free, burst into tears. System notice, clear reward, 5,000 coins. Still crying, she whispered. At least, it wasn't all for nothing. Hand over your coins, Jin Hyuk said coldly. Within moments, his balance surpassed 10,000. He then commanded, bring me Brahm's ring within 3 days. Park Hana hesitated. 3 days is too short. Then 2, he said, activating the Soul Brand. Her face twisted in pain as she whimpered, I'll find a way. Meanwhile, the top-ranked National Guild announced plans to raid the tower's 3rd floor. To Jin Hyuk, it was laughable. In his eyes, they were just greedy, rushing to monopolize tower resources. Each floor had a 90-day limit to clear, and they hadn't even stabilized the 2nd floor yet. If they hit a wall too soon, the exponential difficulty would crush them instantly, and if no one cleared a floor within 90 days, humanity itself would perish. To assess the current situation, Jin Hyuk returned home, planning to gather all the news and updates from the past month. But to get reliable intel fast, he knew there were a few people he'd need to meet first. Not long after, Jin Hyuk met up offline with a few of his old gaming buddies. The first was the bald-headed Lee Tae-min, and the second, the fierce brawler known as Nuclear Fist, Yu Yunhwa. As for Jin Hyuk, he was infamously known among them as Captain Fart. Embarrassing, sure, but they got along perfectly well. Over drinks, Jin Hyuk caught up on the current state of the real-world game. They talked about the movements of major guilds across nations, the shifting influence of top streamers, and the rise of a dark syndicate called the Demon Group, which kidnapped awakeners to operate so-called coin factories. Lee Tae-min also mentioned a new kind of test that had recently been introduced. Because the death toll on the tower's 2nd floor had skyrocketed, the official Awakeners Association had implemented a qualification test. Only those who passed could advance further. Successful participants would receive a unique identification code. Hearing this, Jin Hyuk immediately understood. This was likely the government's way of locating hidden powerhouses. But his grin said it all. He could turn this system to his advantage. Of course, the test came with a brutal cutoff. Anyone rated below F rank would lose their qualification to enter the 2nd floor forever. On the other hand, those who scored highly would receive immediate recruitment offers from the government and top guilds. Thus, the test site was crowded with 3 types of people. Ordinary hopefuls praying just to reach F rank or higher. tabloid reporters eager to film high-ranking players for viral clips, and arrogant geniuses looking to flaunt their strength. At the center of the crowd stood Crow Guild's Park Hana and her brother, Park Ha-jin. Behind them stood a man from the Samurai Guild, the elite fighter Kim Ki-tae. Kim glanced around at the crowd of nobodies waiting to test. With a snarl, he ordered the Park siblings to clear the line ahead of them. The guards quickly moved to comply, sweeping the area and forcing people back, Jin Hyuk's group included. One guard barked, "What are you doing? Can't you hear? Move." Jin Hyuk sighed, "What do you think? We're in line, waiting like everyone else." Watching the guards fumble, Park Ha-jin snapped. He stormed forward, jabbing a finger at Jin Hyuk. "Can't you hear? Get the hell out of here." Jin Hyuk's brow twitched. His eyes gleamed coldly as he activated True Eye. The system interface flickered, displaying Park Ha-jin's full status data. Skill copy condition. Target hostility must reach maximum level. At that moment, Park Hana hurried over to see what was happening. But the instant she saw who her brother was yelling at, her face drained of color. Her idiotic brother was actually provoking the very demon she feared most. "Tisich," Jin Hyuk muttered, snapping his fingers. "Quit barking, mutt." Enraged, Park Ha-jin pulled out a knife and charged. Jin Hyuk's eyes glinted with pity, as if watching someone walk willingly to their death. He crushed the plastic water bottle in his hand. The burst of water mist clouded Park Ha-jin's vision for an instant. Then Jin Hyuk moved, a flash of motion, a strike, and a sickening crack as the man's leg broke. Jin Hyuk was already standing behind him. To the onlookers, it had happened too fast to follow, just a blur and a thud. The crowd fell silent. Park Hana, knowing exactly what this man was capable of, trembled uncontrollably. "That's enough." A calm yet commanding voice broke the silence. Kim Ki-tae of the Samurai Guild stepped forward. Jin Hyuk immediately tried to activate True Eye again, but the system blared frowny face. Skill activation failed. Level difference too high. He understood at once. He was only level 1, and the man before him was at least level 20 or higher. Jin Hyuk chuckled under his breath. "Didn't expect that kid to bring a babysitter." Kim Ki-tae replied flatly, "He's dumb, but still useful to me." Jin Hyuk's smile sharpened. "You mean the Giri ginseng, right?" Instead of asking how I know, he said, "Why not ask something practical, like how to remove its side effects?" Enough. With a sharp system chime, Kim Ki-tae cast Dark Veil Barrier, sealing them off from the rest of the plaza. Inside the barrier, he eyed Jin Hyuk warily. The man clearly knew things, but a demand for 10 dungeons held by his guild? "Why should I believe you?" Jin Hyuk spoke calmly. "Giri ginseng excels at restoring stamina and mana, but eaten raw, it causes mana poisoning. You're suffering the backlash already. The fix is simple. Night of Colin, Moonstone, and Mandrake Root taken together. Problem is, you don't know where to get the Mandrake. I do." Hearing a remedy that matched his guild's internal research, Kim Ki-tae believed him. "Mostly. We can trade," he said coldly. "But try anything, and I'll make you regret it." Even so, doubt not at him. 10 dungeons was a steep price. A crisp snap echoed. Kim Ki-tae's weapon broke in two. Jin Hyuk's voice was almost bored. "You've misunderstood something. The one making the offer and giving you this chance is me." Outside the barrier, Lee Tae-min and Yu Yunhwa were locked in a fight against a small mob of attackers. "Anyone else want to die? Step forward," Yu Yunhwa growled, cracking her knuckles. Just then, a pulse of energy rippled through the air. The dark veil barrier dissolved, and Jin Hyuk stepped out calmly from the smoke. The pair hurried over. "Boss, want us to wipe them out?" Meanwhile, Park Ha-jin stood frozen, unable to believe that Kim Ki-tae had simply let them go. Rage flared in his chest. He lunged forward, only for a powerful hand to seize his throat mid-motion. "You're no match for that man," Kim Ki-tae warned coldly. "Step out of line again, and you'll regret it." With that, he slammed Park Ha-jin onto the ground like a rag doll. Humiliated and trembling, Park Ha-jin clenched his fists that he swore he'd make Jin Hyuk pay. Just then, the system chimed frowny face skill copy successful. Acquired shallow breath. Shallow breath allows voluntary control of pulse and respiration, enhancing endurance and focus. Time to see what that ranking test is all about, Jin Hyuk murmured. He arrived at the official Awakeners testing site. When handed the testing apparatus, he said flatly, "No skills that a knife will do." Ignoring the beginner-level magic crystal, he walked straight to the intermediate-grade crystal. "Wait, ordinary people can't use that," the staff warned. But the system announced frowny face gap skill. Max level. A fierce aura erupted from him, warping the air itself. The blade flashed, cutting cleanly through the entire magic crystal. The staff member stared, speechless. Most people couldn't even channel enough mana to activate the crystal. But this man had split it in half. The system chimed. Rank evaluation, S-class. The stunned staffer fumbled for his communicator to report the anomaly to his superior. "Actually," Jin Hyuk said calmly, "you can make that report in a week." "Huh?" The man blinked in confusion. Jin Hyuk smiled faintly. "Personal reasons, that's all." Then his tone cooled. "Besides, a fist that's close is always scarier than rules that are far away." Jin Hyuk stepped out of the testing center, calm and composed, only to run into a familiar face. It was Park Han-ah, who had come as promised, carrying the Ring of Brahm. She handed it over nervously. "Now, can you remove the mark?" she asked. Jin Hyuk shook his head. "That depends on how you perform," he said coolly before walking away, leaving her frozen in frustration. Elsewhere, Yu Yunhua and Lee Tae-min were stunned when they heard the report. Jin Hyuk's official test rank was F-class. But that was no mistake. It was intentional. Failing the first exam meant he could enter the second round of testing. And that was exactly where he needed to be, to claim something far more valuable. The second test required players to clear any monster-infested dungeon. The place Jin Hyuk had chosen, however, was no ordinary dungeon. Both in the Old Tower Trials game and now in the real world, it was feared as a forbidden zone no one had ever conquered, the Corridor of the Fallen. A few days later, disguised in work clothes, Jin Hyuk arrived at the site. "Hey kid, get over here and move those crates," someone barked. The ruin was already occupied by a powerful guild, T.O. Enter unnoticed. Jin Hyuk had registered as a porter and blended in with the labor crew. "Why do you take a job in a place this dangerous?" one of the workers asked. Jin Hyuk smiled faintly. "Can't afford to be picky, life's tough." The man pulled out his phone with a grin. "Got a wife as sly as a fox and 2 kids cute as rabbits. I'm only doing this for them." Hearing that obvious death flag, Jin Hyuk felt a bead of cold sweat roll down his neck. "Be careful in there," the man added. "Machines don't work underground, and if something goes wrong, no ambulance is coming." Jin Hyuk smiled faintly. "Relax, at least everyone in this team will make it home safe." The man chuckled politely. "I'll take that as a blessing. You young folks sure are confident." Soon, they reached their assigned post as part of the support squad. Their job was to wait until the main assault team cleared the entrance before moving deeper inside. Just then, a glowing system window appeared in front of Jin Hyuk. Special reward granted. First player to clear the Tower of Trials. Only he could see the shimmering text. Bonus applied. +10 luck, +10 adaptability. Passive unlocked, cold heart. Remain calm and rational in life-threatening situations. Passive unlocked, lone feast. When you choose to keep all rewards for yourself, you will always obtain the most valuable one. Reading the description, Jin Hyuk couldn't help but smirk. In the game, there had been thousands of loot boxes. Only 1 in 1,000 held anything good. But now, with Lone Feast, he could ignore chance entirely and always claim the rarest treasure. Meanwhile, one of the nation's top 10 guilds had launched a large-scale raid on a dungeon. Its outer defenses already cleared. But to Jin Hyuk, something about the whole situation felt off. A guild of this caliber shouldn't have been able to make it this deep. Disguised as a porter, he quietly moved among the crowd. The foreman barked at him to bring water to some of the foreign players. As he handed out the bottles, Jin Hyuk's eyes narrowed. The emblems on their armor. Siwon Guild, the elite strike force from the U-continent. Among them, a shorter figure caught his attention. Perfect. He decided to start with that one for intel. You've worked hard. Here, cold water. Jin Hyuk smiled politely as he handed the bottle over. At the same time, he activated his empathy skill. System, target's affection +1. A clear voice echoed from within the armor. Thank you. The armored figure removed her helmet, revealing golden hair and striking blue eyes. Jin Hyuk's pupils contracted, but it's her. Teresa de Lawrence, the youngest daughter of the noble Lawrence family from U-continent. A rare all-rounder capable of channeling divine power, combining offense, defense, and healing. Known across the world as the Saint of Amsterdam. With Teresa here, it finally made sense how this guild had pushed so far. Still, it was strange. Top-tier players were all focused on the third floor. What was she doing here? Without hesitation, Jin Hyuk activated the Eye of Truth. System, skill activation failed. Level gap, too large. But a moment later, his boosted luck and adaptability stats narrowed the difference. Skill activated. Eye of Truth, LV.2. Status window penetration successful. Jin Hyuk's eyes lit up in surprise and delight. Before him appeared Teresa's full attribute panel. Her stats were absurdly high. He also noticed a tag reading Class Quest in progress. That explained her presence here. System notice. Target Teresa de Lawrence is ranked among the world's top 100 players. If you save her from mortal danger, you may copy one of her skills. Thank you, Teresa said kindly after finishing her drink. That Jin Hyuk smiled faintly. Don't mention it. No, he thought to himself. I should be the one thanking you, because you're my ticket to acquiring the most coveted skill among knights. Star Guardian. Now the question was, how could he put her in danger and then rescue her just in time? Meanwhile, the assault team's leader, Song Cheonhua, received terrible news. The Vanguard scouts had been completely wiped out. The Dungeon Guardian had begun to stir, and in 10 minutes, it would fully awaken. Realizing that someone had triggered the alarm mechanism, Song Cheonhua nearly lost it. Once the Guardian appeared, at least half their team would die. They still had 10 minutes, enough to retreat safely. But note that he'd just earned his position as commander. He couldn't let his first mission end in failure. Song Cheonhua clenched his jaw. His decision was final. They would press on. Are you serious, man? The Guardian's about to wake up, one teammate shouted. Shut it. If anything goes wrong, I'll take the blame, Song snapped. And besides, we're not without hope. Because they had Saint Teresa. Meanwhile, the solo players who had followed the guild into the ruins also received the same chilling message. The Guardian has awakened. Calm down, a woman whispered. This is the Beihai Guild. We just follow orders. Her attempt to reassure the group fell flat. The tension was suffocating. Then suddenly, two massive hands burst out from the darkness behind her. A spray of blood filled the air. The Dungeon Guardian had arrived. The raid team clashed with elite-class monsters almost instantly. Shields locked together. Supports fired off buffs. Healing light flickered across the cavern. But when the Guardian's colossal axe came crashing down, even the tank line nearly split apart under the sheer force. The unaffiliated solo players screamed as they were left to fend for themselves. Realizing in horror, they'd been abandoned. All they could do was pray for salvation. In the next instant, hurried footsteps echoed through the corridor. Teresa's golden hair caught the light as she activated her LV.4 skill. Holy cry. A blinding radiance swept across the battlefield. With a single strike, she obliterated every relic guardian, making a flawless, heroic entrance. As the light faded, her silhouette became clear. The saint herself, Teresa. She quickly noticed several guardians breaking through toward the supply squad. Her expression hardened. She had to move now. But when she arrived, the rear camp was already in ruins. The foreman suddenly remembered Jin Hyuk's confident words. Everyone in this team will make it home safe. Staring at the carnage, he muttered bitterly, "Yeah right, what a load of crap." Huh, that's not a very nice thing to say, old man. A calm voice cut through the chaos. Didn't I say I'd get you home safe? The foreman's eyes widened. Jin Hyuk, behind you. There's another one. Jin Hyuk twisted his body, dodging the attack with effortless precision. Skill activated. Fire elemental. Flames erupted, engulfing the monster in an instant. A clean one-shot kill. After calming the laborers for a moment, Jin Hyuk's mind raced. Who had needlessly triggered the Relic Guardians? He was about to urge the foreman to pull everyone back when, in an instant, a flash of gold passed by, and the foreman was seized and dragged away. A cold voice accused him. I thought you were a good Samaritan. Turns out you're threatening non-combatants with a knife. You're the one who woke the Relic Guardian, right? I'm placing you under arrest. The charge left Jin Hyuk stunned. He was about to speak in his defense. But Teresa had already lunged forward, her face hardened. Don't resist that I won't hurt you, she said, but Jin Hyuk glanced at the shattered earth beneath them and scoffed inwardly, yeah, right? Teresa was too furious to listen. She gave him no chance to explain. So when she struck, Jin Hyuk sidestepped and countered with a brutal swing. He sent her crashing to the ground with a single, heavy blow. Moving close, he pressed his blade against her throat. I didn't wake the Guardian, he said. And if I had, don't kid yourself, I'd have killed you already. Just then, the foreman rushed over, shouting, He's not the culprit. Jin Hyuk saved me. Teresa froze, completely thrown off. Getting to her feet, she bowed slightly. I'm so sorry. Jin Hyuk waved it off. Forget it. After a pause, she asked, Why are you hiding your true strength? Jin Hyuk smiled. You hired the Siwon Guild to come here, didn't you? To obtain the pledge of Peter and secretly complete your class advancement. Teresa's eyes widened in shock. How the hell does he know that? I'm in the same boat, Jin Hyuk continued. There's something here I need to claim quietly. And I know every route and mechanic of this ruin that you're strong, Teresa, and what we both want is in the same place. So, want to team up and head to the other side? When Teresa mentioned she'd be going off on her own, Song Cheonhwa's expression screamed, You've got to be kidding me. But Teresa calmly reminded him, Per our agreement, I have full freedom before the boss raid begins. Song scratched his head awkwardly, then sighed. Fine, but you'd better be back before the checkpoint. Then, may I bring one of the porters with me? Teresa asked. Song shrugged. Do as you like. Her eyes lit up immediately. The porters around them, however, looked terrified. Sure, the saint was gorgeous, but leaving the main force to go off alone with her, that was suicide. I'll go, I volunteer. Jin Hyuk declared dramatically, stepping forward like a hero in a cheap drama. The other workers panicked. She's beautiful, sure, but don't throw your life away. Love's not worth dying for, kid. Jin Hyuk clutched his chest with exaggerated passion. You don't understand, old men. This is the fire of youth. If it's for love, I'll walk through fire itself. Even if it costs me my life. The older men stood frozen, visibly moved. Damn it. So this is youth, one said, wiping his eyes. Go, Jin Hyuk the porter, last of the romantics. Hearing the chorus of dramatic approval behind him, Jin Hyuk sighed inwardly that I'm so tired of this world. Moments later, Jin Hyuk and Saint Teresa reached the deepest chamber of the dungeon. Among the monsters stood a crimson stone coffin, pulsing with eerie light. Teresa spoke solemnly. My class advancement relic, the pledge of Peter, is sealed inside. But first, she added, we need to find a way to break the magic barrier around it. As they pondered, a sharp system alert rang out frowny face warning. The master of the fallen corridor is watching you. Jin Hyuk stiffened. That warning only appeared when a powerful hidden entity took interest in a player. But why me? Teresa glanced at him nervously. That came from a boss, right? What does it mean it's watching us? Could it mean we've been acknowledged? Jin Hyuk smirked. No, it means it's acknowledged me. Teresa blinked. Awkward silence hanging between them at his unshakable confidence. Clearing her throat, she asked, Didn't you say you knew all the dungeon strategies? Then tell me, what do I do next? In the next instant, Teresa leapt into the air, diving straight into the heart of the monster swarm. Every creature turned its attention toward her. She activated LV.5 skill, Battle Him, granting herself +3 to all attributes for 10 minutes. According to Jin Hyuk's plan, her role was simple: draw every monster's aggro. As the undead hordes surged toward her, she unleashed LV.5 Divine Amplification, Holy Light, the sacred radiance flaring bright. Purifying everything it touched, she danced among the undead like a blazing flame, unstoppable. With all enemies locked onto her, Jin Hyuk pushed off the ground, vaulting over the monsters and racing toward the barrier's core. Suddenly, a streak of crimson-black lightning flashed across his neck. A massive explosion roared, engulfing the area where he stood. System alert. Hidden monarch of the ruins, Elite Lich, has appeared. Through the rolling smoke, Jin Hyuk emerged unscathed. Completely calm, he had expected the Lich's arrival all along. What he didn't expect, however, was the sudden appearance of several relic guardians among the undead. Though the relic guardians made things messy, Jin Hyuk smirked. If he moved just right, the Lich's shadow lightning would do the cleanup for him. And that lightning had another secret. It could destroy any kind of barrier. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning shot straight for Jin Hyuk's face. He sidestepped fluidly, and the lightning crashed right into the Crimson Coffin's outer barrier. With a deafening crack, the system chimed, magic barrier destroyed. For a moment, the air hung awkwardly still. Jin Hyuk seized the opening, cutting through the remaining guards. His gaze fixed coldly on the Lich. Looks like it's just you and me now. So what should I do with you? A flash of steel, and the Lich was obliterated. But that strike hadn't come from Jin Hyuk. Finally found you. A man crushed a skull beneath his boot and strode toward him. Out of everyone, you're the only one who moves like you can predict a monster's next attack, that I knew you'd end up here. His voice carried a cocky familiarity. Long time no see, Jin Hyuk. Jin Hyuk glanced at him coolly. Who the hell are you? The man froze, disbelief written all over his face. You seriously don't remember me? Guess I'll have to remind myself. Jin Hyuk muttered, activating True Eye. System message. Target identified. Cheon Yusung. Copy condition. Defeat him using his own proudest sword technique. Jin Hyuk's gaze shifted to the blade in Yusung's hand, its hilt engraved with the name Jianryong. Wait a minute, isn't that the sword that went missing from the museum? Memories surfaced back before the trial tower became reality. He'd once beaten a lunatic player obsessed with dueling him. Ever since, that guy challenged him every chance he got, like a crazed stalker. Jin Hyuk sighed. So, it's you, the sword-crazy psycho stalker. You only recognize me now. Are you looking down on me? Cheon Yusung roared. Jin Hyuk rubbed his temples, already remembering this guy's impossible temper. This time, now that the game's restarted, I won't lose to you again. Yusung's eyes blazed with fighting spirit. Jin Hyuk sighed. If you're dead set on fighting, fine, I won't stop you. But my companions won't just stand around watching. I won't let anyone interfere in our duel. Yusung bellowed, activating battlefield selection. The world around them twisted violently as reality warped. In that split second, Jin Hyuk reached toward the relic inside the coffin. Teresa tried to stop him, but was too late. See you in a minute, Jin Hyuk said quietly. The next instant, both figures vanished. When the world stabilized, they stood inside an ancient coliseum, dust swirling beneath their feet. Yusung roared, skill, lone duel activated. All of his stats rose by 10%, while Jin Hyuk's dropped by the same amount. Feeling the sharp disadvantage, Jin Hyuk simply smirked. The system chimed, critical disadvantage detected, special fusion condition unlocked. When the battle difficulty exceeds the original copy threshold, the rule changes. Skill can be copied first, then the condition fulfilled later. I'll copy Cheon Yusung's unique ability, Jin Hyuk murmured. System message. Unique skill acquired. Sword Song. Sword Song. Increases comprehension of bladed weapons by 200%. The body instinctively finds the most natural sword flow, while every nerve heightens to peak sensitivity. For a brief moment, Jin Hyuk looked entranced, completely absorbed by the rhythm of the blade. "Don't get cocky," Yu Sung roared, charging forward. Jin Hyuk snorted, raising his short sword. In an instant, his control over his body hit perfection. The two clashed blade to blade, evenly matched. Yu Sung frowned. Jin Hyuk wasn't using his usual mid-range tactics. Just a single short sword. What's he playing at? Jin Hyuk smiled lightly. "One short sword's enough. Besides, this swordplay thing's kind of fun." "Fun?" Yu Sung's fury exploded. "You're still mocking me?" With a furious shout, he unleashed LV6 skill, soul-chasing slash. Jin Hyuk ducked under the wave of sword energy, scoffing. "Seriously? Using sword aura on a beginner? That's overkill." "Beginner my ass," Yu Sung shouted back. Jin Hyuk grinned and flipped him an international-friendly gesture. Facing sword aura with a short blade was burning through his weapon's durability. At this rate, the fight could last forever. "Fine," Jin Hyuk muttered. "I'll just create something that beats sword aura." He whispered, "Fuse sword song with demon soul pill." A burst of violet light flared. System notice. Skill fusion activated. You have successfully fused sword song with the equipment demon soul pill. Unique ability unlocked. Sword Grave. Sword Grave increases mastery of bladed weapons by 500%. A crushing wave of power erupted from Jin Hyuk as he declared, "Activate skill, Black Moon Knight." Feeling the pressure radiating from him, Yu Sung's eyes widened in disbelief. Even here, in the battlefield built for his advantage, Jin Hyuk's presence alone felt overwhelming. Everything should have been in his favor, both in the old game and now, in this real-world version. He'd given everything to surpass that man. Why can't I beat you?" Yu Sung screamed. "I won't accept it." He unleashed a storm of sword energy. Jin Hyuk's eyes flashed violet. A single arc of his blade shattered every wave of sword aura. Yu Sung froze in shock. In an instant, Jin Hyuk was behind him. There are countless swordsmen out there, faster, stronger, and I've fought them all. His blade crashed down, slamming against Jian Ryong's sword. A twist of his wrist. Clang. The legendary sword flew from Yu Sung's grip, spinning high into the air. "Looks like I won again," Jin Hyuk smirked. "I've honestly lost count of my win streak." 138. Yu Sung groaned weakly. "That's the 138th time. Just kill me already." Jin Hyuk chuckled. "Then next time we'll make it 139. You know as well as I do, the Tower of Trials isn't an easy place. Even top players die the moment they let their guard down. That's why this world needs as many skilled players as possible, especially ones like you." Yu Sung blinked, momentarily stunned by what sounded like a compliment. Top player. Meanwhile, Jin Hyuk was thinking to himself, skill copy cooldown on the same player is 60 days. Perfect. Next time he'll just hand me his next overpowered ability himself. He extended his hand, quietly activating the empathy skill. "Fine," Yu Sung said through gritted teeth. "I admit defeat, but next time the result will be different." As the battlefield dissolved, Jin Hyuk mused, "He still doesn't even know my real name, that we're not exactly on name basis yet anyway." "In that case," Yu Sung grinned, "I'll just call you by your in-game handle." Jin Hyuk's expression froze. "Wait, no, don't. Captain Fart Fuffed. You son of a..." Jin Hyuk shouted, veins popping. "I should have told you my real name when I had the chance." This man, despite the ridiculous nickname, was in truth a powerful vampire. Every time he met a human, he would bow politely. Even when surrounded by players with their weapons drawn, he never grew angry. His smile never faded. After all, this time he carried the command of the true ancestor, to lead these players to a fun little place. Meanwhile, Saint Teresa was channeling divine power to evolve a rare relic, Ice Tear. Once evolved, the Ice Tear could greatly expand a player's maximum mana capacity. Watching from the side, Jin Hyuk whistled. "Now that's what I call top tier, truly top tier." But before he could finish, a sharp system alert echoed in his mind. "The Master of the Corridor has invited you that if you wish to rescue the Trap Strike team members, proceed to the innermost chamber of the ruins. Once accepted, all monsters and traps will be temporarily disabled. Teresa's face instantly turned pale. She jumped to her feet, ready to rush to her comrade's aid. But without her support team, could she really face the true ancestor alone? For the first time, doubt crept into her heart. Maybe leaving the group was a mistake. She only wanted to become a holy knight to protect others. Yet now, she was the one in need of saving. On the other side, Cheon Yusung exhaled a long sigh. The strike team's fate had nothing to do with him. He was already planning his quiet escape. As Yusung passed by Teresa, he paused and said quietly, "There's something you should know. That guy is selfish to the core, and he never keeps his promises. That's probably why he hates me so much. But one thing's for sure. Right now, I'm the only person in the world who's ever defeated the true ancestor." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving only those words behind. "If that's the case," Teresa whispered, stepping forward, "Jin Hyuk, I want to make a pact with you." Jin Hyuk smirked. "Just so you know, my down payment isn't cheap. You sure you can afford it?" "If it means saving the strike team," Teresa said firmly, "I'll pay any price." Seeing her unwavering resolve, Jin Hyuk let out a small laugh. "All right then, now let's give it a try." System notice. Quest accepted. Together, they descended into the deepest chamber of the ruins. The air was thick with raw, crushing magic, so dense it almost seemed alive that Teresa's heart trembled. This pressure, it was far beyond anything she'd ever faced. "Don't be afraid," Jin Hyuk said calmly. "We already knew the enemy would be strong, didn't we? And strength doesn't always guarantee victory." He glanced her way. "Got a plan?" Teresa took a deep breath. "Just one request. No matter what happens in there, you must trust me completely." The moment they stepped through the door, the sight before them froze their breath. Countless vampires filled the grand hall. "Finally, you came," a soft, lilting voice echoed. On the throne at the far end sat a silver-haired girl, her crimson eyes gleaming with amusement. The true ancestor herself, Alice von Adoratia. "What did you do to the strike team?" Teresa demanded. Alice merely snapped her fingers. System alert. Dimensional seal released. Jin Hyuk immediately activated True Sight. His eyes narrowed. Park Ha-jin was there among them. "So, it was that idiot who woke up the Guardian," Jin Hyuk muttered under his breath. "As for why she invited me," he thought, "it's because of my scent. She's never smelled anything this sweet. Normal human blood can't even begin to compare to mine." Hearing Alice talk about sweetness so casually made Jin Hyuk's scalp tingle. This woman was nothing like the true ancestor he remembered. Teresa whispered, "You look irritated." "Who wouldn't be? Having a vampire drooling over your blood isn't exactly relaxing," Jin Hyuk said dryly. "Don't worry though, she's a picky eater. She'll probably fatten me up until I'm 60 before killing me." He exhaled with a bitter grin. "Still, I have no intention of living my life as a premium lunchbox." Before his words faded, a crimson flash cut through the air. The ground cracked beneath them. "Moving little drink." Alice's voice turned cold. "You don't get to talk." Jin Hyuk straightened slightly, lips curling. "Well, I wasn't planning to live as your personal blood pack anyway." Jin Hyuk knelt on one knee and spoke calmly. "I can offer you something far sweeter than my blood." Alice's lips curved into a faint smile. "For vampires, nothing is sweeter than blood." "What if?" Jin Hyuk said softly. "What I'm offering is freedom." The moment that word left his lips, Alice froze. The other vampires erupted in fury. To them, eternally exiled and imprisoned here, the word freedom was nothing but cruel mockery. "Enough," Alice said sharply, raising her hand. The hall instantly fell silent. Her crimson eyes narrowed. "If you can take responsibility for what you just said, then prove it to me." Jin Hyuk whispered under his breath, pulling a mask from his cloak. "My name is Jin Hyuk. From this moment on, I speak on behalf of the demons within the tower, and I've come to take you out of this place." Demons, humans who had turned their backs on humanity for money, revenge, or desire. They were the enemies of mankind, and often allied themselves with monsters lurking in labyrinths and ruins. Alice had, of course, heard the rumors. I've already made contact with the temple on the 27th floor of the tower, Jin Hyuk continued, and when I learned of your imprisonment, I also discovered a way to bypass the seal that binds this ruin. As Jang Junhyuk spoke with calm confidence, Teresa, still in shock, noticed the vampires around them start to waver the moment they heard the word sanctuary. She thought to herself, he actually knows about the sanctuary? Then, maybe he isn't lying. Jang Junhyuk smiled faintly. So, do you believe me now? No, she replied coldly. Even if you really are a demon, how could you possibly give me freedom? Anyone can claim to solve an ancient curse with just words. Her tone sharpened. What matters is I never trust a silver tongue. She licked her lips and murmured, your blood smells so sweet. But what a pity. Die, she roared, and in an instant, countless chains shot toward Jang Junhyuk. Yet Jang Junhyuk stood still, showing no sign of resistance. In that split second between life and death, Teresa leapt forward, shielding him with her body. Skill, divine power boost, activate. Blinding light burst forth, stopping the swarm of blood chains in midair. Stay behind me, she shouted. Her face twisted with pain, but she pushed on with all her strength. At the same time, she summoned another skill, divine shield, to reinforce her defense. Watching Teresa struggle with every ounce of power she had, Alice couldn't help but smirk. But that smile quickly froze. The divine aura suppressing vampires made her blood boil with irritation. Alice activated her skill, Blood Burst, and decided that in the next heartbeat, she'd blast Teresa away. Facing that overwhelming magic, Teresa quietly wondered whether she could last 1 second, or maybe 2. Yet she smiled. No matter what happened, she still believed in Jang Junhyuk behind her. But in the very next instant, a blade pierced through her body and blood splattered across the ground. As she saw the familiar weapon impaled in her chest, disbelief filled her eyes. Jang Junhyuk raised his head calmly. Now do you believe in my resolve to help you? He asked Alice. Alice froze for a moment, then smirked. Betraying the one who saved your life? How amusing. Fine. Show me if you really deserve freedom. Junhyuk. Teresa's voice trembled weakly. Didn't we agree to save the others together? Was this your plan all along? Jang Junhyuk said nothing. His blade fell once more. Blood splashed across the divine shield, and in that moment, the world fell silent. Alice's lips curved slightly. Good up, my little human actually has some skill. Believing Jang Junhyuk was now on her side, she decided to give him a chance to prove his worth. A crimson light flashed, and Karahan's ring appeared in Jang Junhyuk's hand. To bypass the seal that imprisons you, I've prepared a 7-star incantation, he said. If I seal your soul inside this artifact, we can temporarily deceive the barrier within the ruins. Alice raised an eyebrow. It was the first time she'd ever heard of such a method. Meanwhile, Jang Junhyuk fell silent, recalling why he had remained at level 1 ever since the trial tower opened. The reason was this very skill, 7-star soul transfer. It could only be used while he was still level 1. System notice, you have met the condition. Level 1 required. Skill activated. 7-star soul transfer. Confinement chamber. System info, cooldown, 365 days. Consent from the target is mandatory for activation. In 1 minute, this magic circle will vanish forever, Jang Junhyuk said with a calm smile. If you wish, I can activate it right now. The choice is yours. The surrounding vampires were stunned. Such a method actually existed? In Barris's mind, Alice's voice echoed coldly. My loyal one, if he tries any tricks, destroy the circle and kill him immediately. With every precaution set, Alice finally made her decision. Though she hated trusting a stranger or using an unfamiliar spell, 1,000 years of imprisonment had taught her. This might be her only chance. She took a slow breath and stared at him. One last time, can I trust you? If I am fortunate enough to earn your trust, Jang Junhyuk replied firmly. I swear you'll never regret it. As their fingers touched, the resonance skill activated. System notice. Target's affection toward you has slightly increased. Alice Vaughn Talasia. Permit the transfer of my soul. System notice. Karahan's ring has begun to activate. The artifact is slowly absorbing the soul of the true ancestor, Alice, as crimson light ripples across its surface. Not bad, it's quite peaceful in here. Alice's satisfied voice echoed from within the ring. I'm glad you like your new home, Jang Junhyuk replied, a trace of excitement hidden in his tone, before Alice could question his words. Innate ability, Heart's Guardian activated. Effect, prevents immediate death, allows one-time revival. Drip, blood fell to the floor as a faint figure slowly rose. Welcome back, Teresa, Jang Junhyuk whispered. It turned out everything had been part of the man's elaborate trap. His true goal was to make the vampire queen his pet. Revived from death, Teresa stared at the man who had stabbed her moments ago, thinking bitterly, if not for my revival skill, I'd be 6 feet under right now. Jang Junhyuk told Teresa to put aside her questions and focus on rescuing the others first. Meanwhile, the remaining vampires, furious over their true ancestor's sealing, could no longer stay still. They roared and lunged toward Jang Junhyuk to kill him. A colossal wave of blood surged forward. Jang Junhyuk activated his fire element skill instantly. With elemental advantage, blazing flames devoured the blood tide in seconds, erasing it completely. Seeing that magic was useless, the vampires switched to melee combat, charging at him all at once. Around the same time, Teresa managed to rescue the trapped Celestial Palace team. But their captain, Song Cheonhua, stared ahead as if he'd seen a ghost. Before him stood a masked man, surrounded by the corpses of every slain vampire. Teresa glanced at Jang Junhyuk, who clearly wanted to keep his identity secret, and replied calmly, "We just met on the way to, I don't really know who he is." At that moment, Jang Junhyuk walked up to Teresa. She gave a bitter smile and sighed, "Never thought my first death would come from a teammate. It really hurt, you know? But we did it." A tear of relief rolled down her cheek. "Thank you, Junhyuk. It's all because of you that everyone's still alive." System notice. You have saved Teresa's life. Copy condition met. System notice. Skill, Heart's Guardian, has been successfully copied. Closing the system window, Jang Junhyuk murmured, "All right. Time to collect the relic's reward." But Song Cheonhua suddenly stepped forward. All items obtained from this raid belong to the Baha'i Guild. Jang Junhyuk smirked. "I just saved your lives, and you still have the nerve to demand my loot." Song hurried to explain. "No offense meant. The guild will compensate you fairly, I swear." Jang Junhyuk thought grimly. A failed raid leader still talking like he's in charge. Pathetic. Then he spoke, voice calm and cold. "If you want it that badly, then take it. But whatever happens next, don't regret it." Song hesitated for a moment, then shrugged indifferently. In his mind, he thought, as long as I get these treasures, my failure can be redeemed. With that thought, he reached forward. Just as Song Cheonhua reached out, a bolt of crimson lightning struck down, searing his arm. He glanced at his palm. An eerie blood-red sigil had appeared. Behind him, Jang Junhyuk let out a cold chuckle. Every treasure here carries a curse. The only way to lift it is to completely destroy Alice. Unfortunately for you, she now belongs to me. Gasps erupted around them as Teresa's eyes widened in disbelief. "Let's go," Jang Junhyuk said calmly, pulling Teresa away without another word. Meanwhile, in the middle of the night, reporters crowded the entrance of the trial tower. The Awakeners Guild had just announced that one of the tower's relic dungeons would be cleared tonight. It was shocking news. Such a dungeon usually took at least 3 weeks to conquer. Even Guildmaster Kim Tae-chun was unsure. He'd only heard it from a mysterious informant whose confidence and strength made it hard to doubt. Suddenly, the system broadcast rang out. "Dungeon, Corridor of the Fallen, cleared." Kim Tae-chun flinched as the message flashed before him. Moments later, the raid party emerged from the tower. Amid flashing cameras, Reporters swarmed forward with congratulations and endless questions. Then, out of the crowd, a bald man suddenly pushed through. It was none other than the raid leader, Song Chionhwa, his hair and eyebrows completely gone for reasons unknown. The crowd stared at the gleaming scalp of the sacrificial hero and erupted in laughter and admiration. "Respect," they shouted. At that moment, Saintess Teresa stepped forward and raised her hand, silencing the reporters. Everyone, the one who conquered the relic wasn't Song Chionhwa. It was him. He cleared it alone. She pointed toward the masked man. "We were merely spectators." The crowd erupted. The Awakeners Guild quickly realized a mysterious, immensely powerful player had just emerged into the world. Not long after, footage of the masked relic conqueror exploded across the internet. Players everywhere flooded forums and streams, speculating about the identity of this mysterious powerhouse. Meanwhile, Jang Junhyuk sat comfortably at home, eating instant noodles while scrolling through the news. "Only Teresa knows who I am," he thought, "and she's promised to keep it secret, and no need to worry." Since that's settled, time to have a little chat with our sealed guest, Alice. Inside the ring, Alice was furious, boiling with rage at having been deceived. "Guess I'll have to teach her a lesson before we can talk properly," Junhyuk muttered. He gave the ring a sharp twist, spinning Alice inside like a vortex. "How about now, feeling clearer? You vile human," Alice shouted, dizzy and enraged. "Remember this. Vampires never forget their enemies." "Seems you still don't understand your situation," Junhyuk replied calmly. "Stop. I'm gonna, throw up." Alice screamed inside the ring. Unfazed, Junhyuk lifted his arm. Original technique. Vampire centrifuge. The tone of the scene shifted comically. 3 hours later, Alice's teary plea echoed from within. "All right, enough crying," Junhyuk said with a grin. "Come on out." As magic flowed in, Alice's figure materialized right in front of Jang Junhyuk. In the next moment, the newly freed Alice was about to give him a lesson. But she immediately sensed something was wrong. Her body had shrunk to a fraction of its size. Jang Junhyuk explained, "I only released a partial manifestation of Alice. This version of you is a miniature, less than 1% of your original strength." Still, he knew even that sliver of power would outclass ordinary vampires. Alice felt devastated, her worldview crumbling. "Don't cry," he told her. "What I said in the ruins wasn't empty talk." Alice snapped back. "This isn't the kind of freedom I wanted." "I understand," he replied, "but I can help you reclaim the freedom you truly desire." "What do you mean by that?" she demanded. Junhyuk said quietly, "Alice von Atalasia, help me, and I'll wipe out those who betrayed you. I'll put you back as head of the Atalasia family." At the same time, he secured Alice. The footage of him solo clearing the vampire relic had already been uploaded online. Players gaped. A single player outshone whole guilds. Later, Junhyuk visited a guild's office tower, a lavish building. The kind these guilds could afford after the trial tower boom. Whether those guilds aimed to monopolize or do worse was none of his concern. But they had once tried to kill him inside the ruins. He wouldn't let that go. "They will pay," Junhyuk said, his gaze turning cold. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the Raven Guild headquarters, Guild Master Shin Kyunsu was clutching his head in anger over Park Ha-jin's failure. He had sent Park to quietly eliminate Jang Junhyuk inside the ruins. But not only did the man fail, he let the target escape and came back alive. Worse, he'd even awakened the Guardian inside the ruins. The fiasco had put enormous pressure on Shin Kyunsu's position as Guildmaster. "Useless trash," Shin roared, kicking Park hard across the floor. The guards outside barely reacted. They were used to hearing this kind of noise. But the next instant, a burst of fire illuminated the office, and from the flames, Jang Junhyuk stepped in. "So, you're the boss of this guild?" he asked coolly. Shin Kyunsu stared in shock, not yet understanding what was happening. Park Ha-jin, however, recognized him immediately and thought, "This is my chance to redeem myself." He lunged forward without hesitation. Junhyuk smirked. removing his mask in one fluid motion. With a single strike, he slammed Park into the floor, grinding him down. Realizing this was the very man they had once tried and failed to assassinate, Shin Kyun-soo still spat out threats. "You'll regret this, brat." Jun Hyuk sat casually on the couch, unfazed. "Don't worry that I'll take care of that myself." His relaxed demeanor made Shin believe, foolishly, that he'd just spotted an opening. In an instant, the skill-swift blade activated. A heavy blade hurtled toward him at terrifying speed. Then a streak of light flashed, and the blade shattered into fragments. Everyone stared in shock. Jang Jun-hyuk had broken the weapon with a single ghost stone. He produced another stone from his sleeve. Fixing Shin with a contemptuous look, he said, "Now, can we have a civilized conversation?" Shin glared at the man lounging on the couch and snapped, "Jang Jun-hyuk, are you here to get revenge because I once sent men to kill you? All this destruction over something so trivial?" He flicked his finger. A stone struck Shin squarely in the forehead. "What do you mean such a trivial thing?" The man's shamelessness made Jang Jun-hyuk want to laugh. Shin tried to bluff his way out. "Wait, my guild has over 50 experts climbing the tower right now. Even if you kill me, they'll come after you." "Blood only begets blood," Shin warned. "If nobody lets go, the killing never stops. Don't push it, Jang." Jang nodded coolly. "Endless revenge is a headache. Fine, then I'll make it cleaner. I've decided I'll keep avenging myself. Whether you're forgiven, that's for you to decide." Shin kept shouting, demanding to know what Jang Jun-hyuk was talking about before he could finish. Ghost stones shot out in a burst, striking Shin and launching him into the air like an unwilling acrobat. Jang glanced down at the trembling Park Ha-jin, his mind flicking to the Brawleye ring. "You only survived because of your sister," he said coldly. "Don't ever show your face near me again." Park nodded frantically like a scolded dog. Jang turned to the man who'd been playing dead and ordered flatly, "Stand up. Prove you're useful to me, and I'll spare you. Start by introducing yourself." The man stammered, I'm Kim Hee-woong. I manage all affairs of the Raven Guild. Whatever you ask, I'll handle it." Jang nodded once. "Good you've seen the situation. Things aren't looking great right now. It'd be wasteful to demolish a guild of this size. I intend to hand it over to you. You don't need to grow the guild. Just keep it running as it is." Kim Hee-woong, though a bit excited, still hesitated. "If I suddenly take the chair, no one in the guild will accept me." Jang Jun-hyuk replied calmly, "Don't worry about those who resist. That I'll assign someone to assist you." That very day, every A-rank member of the Raven Guild received an urgent order to return to headquarters. Confused murmurs spread. No one knew what the old guildmaster was up to this time. When they arrived, they were stunned to find the former guildmaster, Shin Kyun-soo, lounging in a car downstairs, sunbathing. And when they rushed up to the office, Kim Hee-woong was already seated in the guildmaster's chair. "You brat, what the hell is going on? Speak." "Every single word of it," the red-haired man shouted. Kim stammered. "The guild was bought out." From the corner, a small but annoyed voice cut in. Alice complained, "Didn't I say, don't assign me to handle things that need my personal appearance?" The redhead's eyes widened. "Wait, you mean this whole mess was caused by that tiny thing?" Hearing the words "tiny thing," Alice's face darkened immediately. And when Alice got angry, she needed a vent. The explosion that followed confirmed everything. Jang Jun-hyuk didn't even need to look to know who caused it. "Sigh," he muttered, turning away. "I've got more important things to handle right now." It had been 2 months since the trial tower appeared in the real world. The world's order had shifted, and in that shifting balance, every person's role had become more crucial than ever. Now, when Jang Jun-hyuk wore his mask, he was seen as an S-rank powerhouse. Without it, he looked like an ordinary F-rank nobody. With his dual identity secure, there was nothing left in the world that could restrain him. The time to claim everything for himself had finally come. As for that lowly vampire, Alice, though she'd lived for thousands of years, her temper was still as explosive as ever. Just one person calling her Shorty had been enough for her to blow up an entire skyscraper. Her master, Jang Jun-hyuk, was left speechless. He'd meant to scold her. But Alice snapped first. It's their fault. They provoked me. No one's ever dared to insult me before. Jang Jun-hyuk sighed inwardly. What a troublesome ancestor. He turned around, deciding to take Alice with him for a monster hunt. Hearing that, Alice frowned. Hunting? Are there even any places left to hunt? She wasn't wrong. Every high-quality dungeon had long been monopolized by the major guilds. Everyone believed that until the third floor of the trial tower was cleared, no undiscovered hunting grounds remained. But Jang Jun-hyuk happened to know of one, a secret hunting zone never revealed to the public. It was located on the first floor of the trial tower, at a place famed for its scenery, the Moonlight Lake. Though beautiful, in an age where humanity fought for survival, no one had time to admire the view. Jang Jun-hyuk's destination lay beneath the tranquil lake, at a secluded spot where 12 ornate statues stood quietly along the shore. So what? Alice asked, tilting her head. Do these statues have some kind of hidden button? Jang Jun-hyuk smiled faintly, his tone calm yet mysterious. It's not that simple. Long ago, players had discovered that one of the statues contained a strange slot. But to this day, no one had ever found a key that matched it. Jang Jun-hyuk, however, knew the truth. The key wasn't an object, but the moonlight itself. He raised his hand, carefully adjusting the angle and intensity of the light. When the beam hit the reflective stone inside the slot at just the right proportion, the lake shimmered faintly, and a low hum rippled through the air. Moments later, the stone gate to the underground slowly opened. System notice, you have entered Trial Tower, basement floor 1. Alice looked around, intrigued by how real everything felt. The chill in the air, the density of mana. That sensation stirred something deep inside her, a memory of freedom she hadn't felt in ages. Well, Jang Jun-hyuk asked with a grin. Still think making a deal with me was a bad idea? Alice turned her head away with a faint huff. It's acceptable. As they descended further, Jang activated his heart's guardian skill. Divine energy flowed through his body as he purified the ice tear's power, steadily increasing his mana. Maintaining Alice's summoned form demanded immense concentration. Then, a thought crossed his mind. How did the creatures inside this tower view the players? Humans knew the game had become reality. But did Alice, who had lived for thousands of years, realize that she herself was once just data in a system? Alice, there's something I want to ask you, Jang Jun-hyuk said suddenly. Before he could continue, the ground trembled faintly. You mean something terrifying's coming? Alice asked, frowning. Jang thought to himself, so the system completely cuts off any data sharing between players and tower beings. Just then, Alice's eyes sharpened. Something's approaching, she warned. A faint crackling sound echoed, followed by the skittering of countless legs. Jang immediately cast his fire element skill. Flames surged forward like a tidal wave. In an instant, a massive beetle was engulfed in fire. Ha! Jang scoffed coldly. Here we go. I used to call the first basement level the hatchery, he muttered. Monsters crawl endlessly from the abyss below. Seeing the swarm of insects, Alice's face twisted in disgust. Jang gestured for her to step back, then activated Star's Guardian. A brilliant light descended from above, illuminating the entire cavern. All nearby monsters had their physical defense reduced by 30%. Alice, assist me, Jang Jun-hyuk ordered without hesitation. Alice wanted to protest, but remembering the threat of his vampire mind enchantment, she snorted coldly and complied, activating Bloodbind. Crimson threads shot out, trapping countless beetles midair as they shrieked in agony. Jang then unleashed his gap skill. With 100 gap points, he could bridge a 33-level difference that a flash of sword light followed, and the level up chime began ringing non-stop. He'd been stuck at level 1 for far too long. Now he could finally fight without restraint. Watching the endless tide of insects swarming toward him, Jang activated Grave of Swords. Blades rained down like a storm, consuming the entire horde. "Come on," he muttered with a grin. "The more, the better. Don't you dare stop." Meanwhile, outside the tower, panic spread. This was only the third-floor boss, yet every top guild in the world was helpless, forced to hold an emergency summit just to find a countermeasure. "The 8th raid on the third-floor boss has failed," said Patrick, the representative of the Sun God Guild, his tone heavy. Each guild had sent 100 elite players, a total of 1,000, but only 9 return alive. "The boss itself isn't that strong," he continued grimly. "But the absurd part is, it can summon 100,000 statues to fight for it." A loud slam echoed as someone struck the table in frustration. Tanway of the Union Guild snapped. "Even relics with equivalent summoning effects are useless. This boss is literally unbeatable." Maria from Olympus shook her head. "We advanced too quickly. Clearing the second and third floors back-to-back left no room for growth. There just aren't enough high-level players yet." Baek Jinho from the Danjun Guild nodded in agreement. "And there are plenty of factions like the Union Guild, hoarding mana crystals and monopolizing dungeon routes. That's what's really causing this imbalance." "Hey, you calling me out, huh?" Tanway slammed the table, and the two erupted into a shouting match, the room descending into chaos. Patrick watched the chaos unfold and sighed. So much for a strategic meeting. Every alliance began with infighting. Raising a hand to silence them, he heard Maria ask, "Patrick, do you already have a plan?" Patrick rubbed his temples. "Recently, some demons contacted me. They said, if we agree to one condition, they can help us clear the third floor." The room erupted instantly, filled with angry shouts of protest. Sitting off to the side, Teresa's eyes widened in shock. Demons? Work with them? She knew all too well that ever since the game became reality, the major guilds had gained immense power. And with that power, reputation had become everything. No one wanted their name tainted by association with demons. Just as the argument reached its peak, the candlelight flickered violently. From within the burning hearth came a smooth, mocking voice. "Hearing you call us trash really breaks my heart." The tone dripped with sarcasm. "Pride is fine, but weakness is still weakness." As he spoke, a wave of dark miasma rolled through the room, and a demon stepped forth from the fire. Baek Jinho's eyes blazed. "A demon dares show himself here?" He flipped the table in rage and lunged forward. Tanway drew his sword at once, fully sharing Baek's murderous intent. The demon envoy let out a cold laugh. "Such fiery tempers," he said mockingly. "But perhaps you should hear my terms before you strike, because we have a way to defeat the boss." Baek Jinho snapped. "Cut the crap. You demons don't even have 100 soldiers. How the hell are you going to fight an army of 100,000? The demon envoy smiled faintly. "Lack of manpower can be corrected." He slammed his staff against the floor. "Gravekeeper of the Black Veil, awaken." Patrick instinctively turned toward the window. Countless skeletal soldiers clawed their way out of the ground, gazing up toward the conference hall. He recognized it immediately. Necromancy, a common skill among demonkind. But this scale alone wasn't enough to impress him, unless... Patrick's eyes narrowed, focusing on the staff in the demon's hand. The demon envoy grinned. "Ah, I see you recognize it. This is the Scepter of Greed, forged from 99 rare materials." Tanway frowned. With the Scepter of Greed and Necromancy combined, they might actually clear the floor. Maria immediately retorted, "A demon is still a demon." Baek Jinho growled, "We should crush them right now." But Patrick remained calm. If word of this alliance doesn't leak out, perhaps it's not such a bad plan after all. Watching the morale crumble, Teresa broke into a cold sweat. She felt like everyone had lost their minds. No matter what, they should never cooperate with demons. Suddenly, she thought of Jang Jun-hyuk. If he were here, he'd never compromise like this. Just as Teresa struggled to think of a solution, a system prompt appeared. Incoming video call. Caller, Jang Jun-hyuk. Accept? She accepted immediately, and the feed opened. Jang Jun-hyuk saw chaos behind her. and even demons among them. The demon envoy had come to discuss cooperation with the guild representatives. Seeing someone listening in, he barked, "Who dares spy on us?" In the next second, the call switched to a conference broadcast. All the guild leaders froze in shock. The man on screen was the very prodigy they had been desperately trying to reach. Instantly, every guild master eager to connect with the unknown brightened, their eyes gleaming with greed and excitement. "How amusing," the demon sneered. "Even you humans speak of the unknown as if you were a legend. But this boss is nothing like the relics you've faced before. Only we demons have the power to clear the third floor." Jang Junhyuk smirked. "With that knockoff staff of yours, you couldn't even get past the door." His words immediately provoked the demon. "You think you know so much?" The demon snapped back. "Without the heart of thorns and the shroud soaked in holy oil, your staff is nothing but a flawed imitation." Patrick frowned and turned toward the unknown. "Is there any truth to that?" The unknown replied coldly. "A genuine scepter of greed bears a red ruby beneath the skull. And since only the first 3 floors of the trial tower are open, it's impossible to craft the real one. Look at those skeletons he summoned. They're weak, brittle, and falling apart. That demon was bluffing from the start. He wanted to trick you out of your supplies and vanish without a trace." Hearing his scheme exposed, the demon cursed under his breath, then hissed, "You'll regret this. This isn't over. He'll keep his eyes on me." The moment his voice faded, his body dissolved into smoke, and the undead outside crumbled to dust. Patrick hesitated, glancing around. "So what do we do now?" Then, the unknown, Jang Junhyuk in his disguised form, stepped forward and said calmly, "Leave it to me. This way, you won't have to join forces with the demons, and we'll still clear the tower." Patrick looked up in shock. "You mean, you're planning to challenge it alone again?" Jang Junhyuk gave a slight nod. Hearing that, the guild representatives each had their own thoughts. Even if this plan failed, it was still a perfect chance to get closer to the unknown. Compared to working with demons, this option was practically risk-free and full of upside. Tanwei spoke first. "Unknown, how much do you want as payment?" Maria immediately followed. "The Olympus Guild is willing to provide full financial support." Patrick added quickly, "The Sun God Guild's funds are far more reliable." Baek Jinho from the Danjun Guild said bluntly, "We'll provide anything you need." Jang Junhyuk answered calmly, "I don't want any payment. Just allow me to enter the 3rd floor and seal the area while I'm inside, and other players are to enter." Maria frowned. "Then what's your reason for doing this?" Tanwei also looked skeptical. "Yeah, what's in it for you?" Jang Junhyuk paused for a moment before saying, "If I had to give a reason, it's for my precious companions. This is something I have to do." The words sounded so cheesy that even Jang Junhyuk cringed, pinching his thigh to keep a straight face. Teresa, however, was already lost in an indescribable feeling. Baek Jinho shouted in admiration, "That's the spirit, true camaraderie at its finest." Jang Junhyuk smiled faintly to himself. Anyone else would have demanded an upfront reward, but that kind of short-sighted greed never pays off. What I'm after is their respect. When a man gives up his reward for his comrades, that reputation alone is worth far more than gold. I also recorded that conference call. The footage after the demon appeared. I'll delete it later. I have other plans for the rest. Less than a day has passed since then, and I've already reached level 12. Everything's going smoothly. Suddenly, Alice's angry voice echoed through the air. "Hey, brat, get over here and help me. You trying to kill me, or what?" Hearing his vampire companion complain about how exhausting monster hunting was, Jang Junhyuk decided to buy a mana potion to help her recover. But to his surprise, the potion did absolutely nothing. After all, vampires can only replenish mana by drinking blood. Without mana, she wouldn't be able to fight properly. Her crimson eyes shimmered with hunger as she stared at him. "Calm down, Alice," he said quickly. The next second came a soft slurp, and Alice wiped her lips in satisfaction. Looking at the trembling Jang Junhyuk, she grinned. "So what's next?" He opened a shop menu and replied, "First, I need to buy a few things." Alice frowned. Why are you buying all this junk? Jang Junhyuk chuckled. You'll see they'll come in handy soon. The two of them walked toward the edge of a massive abyss. Jang Junhyuk glanced back at her. Alice, things are about to get busy. Because within a single day, we have to reach the end of the first floor. Hold on tight. In the next instant, before Alice could even react, Jang Junhyuk leaped straight into the abyss. Are you insane? Alice shouted. Do you even know how deep this is? He said nothing, but deep down he knew exactly what he was doing. He'd jumped from this spot more than 100 times before. As they neared the bottom, Jang Junhyuk whispered, Alice now. A moment later, his skill anti-gravity activated, slowing their fall. Gasping for breath, Alice complained, You're absolutely reckless. You scare me half to death. But then, both of them suddenly sensed something wrong. Fire element, activate. Flames burst to life as Jang Junhyuk reassured her. Don't worry, I've got this. Within the firelight, swarms of insects began to crawl out from the shadows. Jang Junhyuk smirked. These little bugs won't work on me. Why don't you show yourself instead? A low growl echoed. Familiar. Ancient, he recognized it instantly. The stray hound of the desert. Anubis, Jang Junhyuk said calmly. Amused by the intruder, Anubis chuckled darkly, ready to toy with him. But Jang Junhyuk's voice cut through the silence. Enough games. Make your move. Anubis burst out laughing. You dare challenge a god? Alice's face turned pale. She sensed the overwhelming danger and tried to step in front of him. Run. I'll hold him off. Her concern took Jang Junhyuk by surprise. Don't worry, he said quietly. Just stay there and watch. Staring up at the massive Anubis, Jang Junhyuk sneered. Let me show you what kind of man makes deals with fiends like you. Anubis grinned, extending his staff. He activated his signature ability, Anubis's judgment, and asked, Did you hear me from your little vampire? First question, asked. Anubis's judgment is a devastating power. Answer 3 questions, and the judge delivers an absolute verdict on the respondent. Exactly why Jang Junhyuk had come. The replication condition, however, was to rattle Anubis, to strip him of patience. The answers didn't need to be truthful. Honesty, lies, whatever would do. Jang Junhyuk nodded coolly. Correct. Anubis chuckled coldly and posed the second question. Did you come here for the hive? Of course, Jang Junhyuk replied. That thing fetches a lot on the black market. As soon as he finished answering the second question, a heart appeared, placed on the phantom tray behind him. Anubis then asked the final question. Now that you're in my domain, will you walk out alive? Jang Junhyuk let out a cold laugh. If I can't handle you, I might as well go smash myself to death on a block of tofu. System prompt. All 3 questions have been answered that Anubis's judgment activates that in an instant. A phantom burst out of Jang Junhyuk's body that a notification appeared. All stats reduced by 50%. Use of innate skills and abilities prohibited for 1 minute. Anubis smirked. Now, I'll need a vessel to carry out my judgment. The next moment, a massive black-armored mantis, Mantis, the abyssal devourer, appeared before him, ready to finish the execution. Despite the hopeless situation, Jang Junhyuk calmly pulled out a small phonograph that it could play a chosen track and wouldn't break until the song ended. Anubis raised an eyebrow. What is this fool doing? Has he lost his mind? With a shriek, Mantis lunged forward. Jang Junhyuk spread his arms and grinned. Watch closely, Mutt. I'm about to lose myself in the rhythm. As the melody began to play, he moved in sync with every beat, dodging Mantis's strikes with flawless precision. Yes, he had chosen this song deliberately. Its tempo matched the monster's attack rhythm perfectly. All he had to do was follow the beat, and he could evade every blow. The sight left Anubis stunned that he finally understood. This human had planned it all along. And right on cue, the 1-minute timer expired. Anubis's judgment faded away. A glint of steel flashed in Jang Junhyuk's hand. Grave of the Sword activated, slicing Mantis into pieces in a single strike. But then, the severed limbs of Mantis began to grow back at an alarming rate. As one of Anubis's chosen judged warriors, it possessed the gift of undeath. Jang Junhyuk could win 100 times, but Mantis only needed to win once. Jang Junhyuk sneered. Death isn't the worst thing, you know. Living without dignity, that's far worse. In an instant, the severed limbs writhed again, lifting into the air. Blood gushed from Mantis's mandibles, splattering the ground like crimson rain. Alice stood frozen, utterly awestruck by Jang Junhyuk's power. A faint smile tugged at her lips. Perhaps his promise to help her get revenge wasn't just empty talk. With a heavy crash, Mantis collapsed. Anubis roared furiously, commanding it to rise again. Yet even as a warrior proud to bear the god's mark, Mantis's was crumbling beneath the suffocating fear Jang Junhyuk instilled. Jang Junhyuk decided to deliver the final blow. Not through strength, but through humiliation. He calmly sat atop Mantis's head. Trembling violently, the beast struggled to lift itself upright one last time. Then, with its own blade, it slit its throat. That Anubis's judged warrior has fallen. The unprecedented act of self-destruction left Anubis speechless. For the first time, the god himself began to doubt what divinity truly meant. The experience from defeating Mantis pushed Jang Junhyuk up another level, a bright blue light bursting across his body. Grimoire of the Feltharos Principality, an arcane tome that grants mastery over ice magic that a treasure only upper-tier explorers could ever obtain. He instantly realized what had happened. His passive skill Solo Feast had activated, granting him the best reward available. System message. You have learned the skill Ice Sculpture. Skill Ice Sculpture activated automatically. Anubis clenched his teeth. Impressive, but if I truly fought, do you think you could stand against me? Jang Junhyuk smirked. You haven't even moved, coward. Hiding up there on the 42nd floor like some perverted shut-in god. Anubis froze, glaring down. If you know I'm just an echo, a fragment, why bother fighting me? Why? Jang Junhyuk grinned. Because it's fun. Fun! Anubis roared, his voice booming like thunder. Insolent mortal! He unleashed his skill hive chamber. An endless swarm of giant bees filled the air. Jang Junhyuk raised his hand, casting Ice Sculpture, instantly freezing several of the creatures mid-flight. But it wasn't enough. The swarm kept pouring in like a living storm. Fine then, Jang Junhyuk muttered, igniting the fire element within him. System prompt. Fusion skill activated. You have learned Solar Radiance. Fire and ice merged, forming a massive, high-damage area attack, Solar Radiance. A blinding light filled the cavern. Jang Junhyuk descended like a god, wiping out the swarm in an instant. Watching his forces disintegrate, Anubis's smirk finally faded. That he realized this human had forced him to change his strategy. First, Anubis chose the hive chamber itself as his new judged warrior. It was granted the power of undeath and the ability to endlessly summon enhanced giant bees. In an instant, one of the empowered bees charged at Jang Junhyuk with a deafening buzz. Jang Junhyuk raised his hand and cast Ice Sculpture. The bee froze solid and shattered on impact. But to his surprise, every time one of the creatures died, it split apart. Within seconds, one became four. Anubis laughed mockingly. You're finished, mortal! Your death is inevitable. Jang Junhyuk only smirked. That he had seen this coming. From his inventory, he pulled out a capsule, Gigentification pill, capable of enlarging its target tenfold. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the pill straight into a bee's open mouth. System prompt. Gigentification will activate in 60 seconds. Leaping into the air, Jang Junhyuk mounted one of the bees. His boots dug into its back, hands gripping an imaginary steering wheel as he began a wild, death-defying drift through the swarm. The sight of dozens of bees flying in chaos made Anubis panic. He began shouting orders like a frantic commander trying to save a collapsing army. Immortality and infinite division could drive anyone to despair. But Jang Junhyuk knew one thing. Even this endless swarm had a weakness. Luring the entire swarm toward the hive, Jang Junhyuk leapt high into the air. System prompt. You have used the unknown hexahedron. A glowing blue cube materialized in midair, instantly trapping all the bees and the hive itself inside. Without hesitation, he threw in the random items he had bought earlier. System message. For items combined, hexahedron has been enhanced. Inside the cube, the bees realized something was wrong. They slammed and clawed at the barrier, but it refused to break. As Jang Junhyuk landed, his fire element skill activated. In an instant, flames filled the entire cube, engulfing everything inside. But it didn't stop there. The gigantification pills kicked in, causing the bees to grow uncontrollably, crushing and tearing each other apart in the confined space. With every death notification, new gigantification pills dropped one after another. Experience points flooded in. Jang Junhyuk's level skyrocketed, climbing without end. Anubis stood dumbfounded, his jaw practically hitting the floor. He couldn't believe it. This human had countermeasures ready for everything. Unless the entire fight had been a trap from the start. The human had known the hive chamber's properties all along and provoked him on purpose. Enraged beyond reason, Anubis made his decision. He clenched his fist tightly. System prompt. Anubis has destroyed the hive chamber. Jang Junhyuk sighed. Damn, I was hoping to farm a few more gigantification pills for the third floor. Anubis, completely humiliated, stomped his foot in fury. Pointing at Jang Junhyuk, he roared, "That brat! He'd better live to reach the 42nd floor." Jang Junhyuk chuckled softly. "Don't worry, I'll get there. And when I do, I'll be the one delivering your judgment." The next moment, the statue of Anubis shattered into pieces. Quest complete. Destroy Anubis's conscious projection. System prompt. You have acquired the skill Judgment of Anubis. Judgment of Anubis. When the target answers 3 questions, their stats are reduced by 50%, and they are unable to use skills for 1 minute. This effect can only be used once per target. Another message appeared. The Egyptian gods have taken great interest in you. Then, several deities have shown extreme hostility toward you. Jang Junhyuk chuckled. Ha! Looks like that mutt went crying to his master. Alice blinked in confusion. What just happened? Nothing serious, Jang Junhyuk said casually. I won. The guy couldn't handle it and rage quit. His level had now reached 19. After distributing a few stat points, system prompt, incoming video call. Raising an eyebrow, Jang Junhyuk gestured for Alice to step aside. The call connected, revealing Cheon Yusong, the man who had challenged him 138 times and lost every single one, yet still called every day to demand a rematch. Jang Junhyuk was about to hang up when Cheon Yusong quickly added, "Wait, this time it's different. The Awakener Guild is hosting a grand martial arts tournament. Every AA rank player will be there, including me." Jang Junhyuk smirked. "And what's that got to do with me? I'm still officially F rank. I can't even qualify." Cheon Yusong leaned forward with a sly grin. The tournament champion will be granted 2 special privileges. The first, freedom to choose any sacred relic they desire. The second privilege was the right to challenge any player who hadn't entered the qualifiers. Jang Junhyuk felt a bad premonition. Then Cheon Yusong shouted, "This time, I'll defeat you in front of everyone." "Don't worry," he added with a grin. "If you win, I'll give you a black market invitation ticket." The black market was a secret offline auction created after the tower appeared, allowing players to trade rare items face-to-face. Transactions were made in real currency, and entry was strictly invite-only. For Jang Junhyuk, who was preparing for the third floor, it was the perfect chance to buy new gear. Just then, a system alert popped up. Your video is now trending. It was the footage of his public declaration, his promise to solo the third floor. With every major guild having already failed their attempts, the fact that Unknown was going to take it on alone spread like wildfire. The video went viral overnight, racking up over 50 million views. System prompt: you have earned 500,000 coins after 90% platform fee. 50,000 coins received. Even after deductions, it wasn't a bad payout. Jang Junhyuk yawned, unimpressed. Let's just hope this boring tournament ends quickly. The martial arts tournament had 24 participants, all ranked AA or higher. It was to be broadcast live, a spectacle meant to showcase elite awakener strength and restore public faith in the guilds, especially after their repeated failures to clear the third floor. In other words, it was pure showmanship. From the stands, the Awakener Guild members marveled at the sheer skill of the contestants. But Hong De-pyo, the representative of the Dark Cloud Guild, had eyes for only one man. His gaze locked on Cheon Yu-sung, whose seamless rhythm between offense and defense was mesmerizing to him. Cheon's swordsmanship had already reached the realm of perfection. Previously, Hong De-pyo had offered a massive sum to recruit Cheon Yu-sung into the Dark Cloud Guild. Though the offer was declined, it only made him admire the young swordsman more. From the stands, a bored voice muttered, "This is pathetic. If I were up there, they'd all be flat on the floor by now." The speaker was Jong Do-hyun, the guild's newest prodigy. To Hong De-pyo, Jong was a promising rookie, someone with the potential to reach S rank within 3 years. But his arrogance, that was a flaw, not a strength. Meanwhile, the match in the arena reached its climax. A flash of steel cut through the chaos. One fighter dashed forward like a storm, carving through every opponent in his path. The victor, Cheon Yu-sung. As the announcer declared the winner, reporters rushed forward. "Cheon Yu-sung, will you claim a sacred relic or use your challenge right?" Cheon Yu-sung raised his sword and answered coldly, "I will exercise my right to challenge." He pointed his blade forward. Jong Do-hyun's eyes lit up. He couldn't believe it. Had the champion really chosen him? But Hong De-pyo pressed a firm hand on his shoulder and said quietly, "He's not talking about you. That sword and that gaze, they're aimed far higher than us." Jong froze, completely lost. "You really know how to cause trouble, don't you?" A familiar voice came from behind him. Rising from his seat was Jang Junhyuk. The entire arena erupted in shock. The champion of the tournament had just chosen to challenge a spectator. Guild officials hurried to check the system records, only to find the unthinkable. The challenger's target was classified as F rank. As Jang Junhyuk stepped calmly onto the arena, the crowd buzzed with disbelief. Only Cheon Yu-sung truly knew how terrifying the man before him was. Jang Junhyuk sighed. "You've lost to me 138 times already. If you lose again this time, maybe just let it go." Cheon smirked. "Don't act like you've already won. You saw my strength earlier, didn't you?" Jang Junhyuk nodded lightly. "Yeah, but I can tell you've been training hard." "Hard?" Cheon gritted his teeth. "I haven't rested a single second, just to surpass you." "Then come," he shouted. "Show me your full power and fight me properly." Blue sword light erupted as he roared. Soul Chaser Sword Dance. Form 2. Infernal Pursuit. Jang Junhyuk chuckled. "Fine. Fire element. Activate. You really need to learn when to quit, Shadow Boy." Their clash sent a storm of fire roaring through the arena, melting the ceiling above. Then, massive icicles burst from the ground, freezing everything in sight. Through the haze and smoke, Cheon gasped weakly. "You, how many damn skills do you have?" Moments later, his body gave out, collapsing to the floor. Jang Junhyuk walked over calmly and picked up the black market invitation ticket they had wagered. The audience was stunned. An F-rank player displaying such overwhelming power defied everything they believed. After the match, Jang Junhyuk approached two familiar faces. Lee Yuri and her partner, fighters he had once defeated, had promised to aid him whenever needed. Seeing how much stronger they'd become, he smiled and said, "Mind giving me your number? Might need your help sometime." Lee Yuri hesitated, ready to refuse, until Jang Junhyuk added softly, "If it's inconvenient, forget it. But if you don't, you'd better think carefully about the consequences." Terrified, Li Yuri hurriedly handed over her number. Just then, a loud laugh echoed from the audience. "Brilliant fight," a man exclaimed as he strode confidently toward the stage. He clearly thought Jang Junhyuk was just an ordinary F rank, but seeing that display, he couldn't resist approaching. Jang Junhyuk narrowed his eyes and activated Eye of Truth. A status window appeared before him, displaying every detail of the man's stats. The skill's secondary condition triggered. Identify the true intention behind his approach. As the system confirmed completion, Jang Junhyuk raised an eyebrow. "So, that's what you're after." The man introduced himself. "I'm Jong Do-hyun. I came up here because you're strong," he said politely. "And since I've got some skill myself, I figured we could be friends." His tone was calm, almost respectful. But Jang Junhyuk's eyes gleamed gold. Eye of Truth verdict. False. Beneath that calm exterior, Jang could see it clearly. Envy, anger, and insecurity. Around them, reporters were already gathering like vultures sensing blood. Even the Dark Cloud Guild's leader, Hong De-pyo, watched from afar with a knowing smirk. The truth was obvious. Jang Do-hyun's real goal was to defeat Jang Junhyuk in front of the media, to crush the super rookie who beat Cheon Yusong, and steal the spotlight for himself. System prompt. You have exposed Jang Do-hyun's true motive. Skill copied. Frowny face tightens grip. Increases user's physical strength exponentially. Jang Junhyuk nearly laughed out loud. When the tower first appeared, there weren't enough players to copy from. But now that the game's become reality, they're lining up to hand me their best skills themselves. Extending his hand, he smirked. "Interesting. So tell me, are you shaking my hand as a friend, or as the Dark Cloud Guild's next pawn?" Jang Do-hyun smiled politely. "If possible, I'd like to invite you to join our Dark Cloud Guild. Whatever salary you want, they'll pay it. Name your price." Jang Junhyuk tilted his head with a faint grin. "Then one last question. Do you really think your grip strength surpasses mine?" Jang chuckled, activating Titan's grip in an instant. "Isn't that obvious?" he said confidently. But the next moment, his smile froze. His ability hadn't activated. Judgment of Anubis had already triggered without him noticing. Jang Junhyuk smirked. "What's wrong? Weren't you confident about your strength a second ago?" The two locked hands, their grips tightening like iron vices. Jang, a confident AAA rank, was certain he could crush a mere F rank like Jang Junhyuk. But within seconds, pain shot up his arm, forcing him to one knee. Jang Junhyuk knew exactly what this was, a provocation. And in his world, provocations had consequences. A cold snort echoed. Pathetic. The next instant, Jang Do-hyun was sent flying through the air, crashing down hard and losing consciousness on the spot. Suddenly, a crimson bolt of lightning cracked across Jang Junhyuk's shoulder. Boom! With a thunderous roar, he dodged backward in a flash. Landing several meters away, he reactivated Eye of Truth. As I turned toward my attacker, I finally saw his face. It was none other than Hong De-pyo, the guild master of the Dark Cloud Guild. Copy condition detected. Shatter the target's pride. So that's it. He's just here to avenge his subordinate, Jang Do-hyun. Jang Junhyuk raised a hand calmly. Relax. He had no intention of adding defeated a guild master to his growing list of achievements. Not yet, anyway. Hong De-pyo snarled, veins bulging. You arrogant brat. With a roar, he unleashed his skill, Blood Demon Aura. The crimson energy surged around him as he charged. Jang Junhyuk raised his left arm, and in the next instant, solar radiance burst forth. A blinding wave of light filled the arena, obscuring the crowd's view and masking the true extent of his power. Using the flash as cover, he swung his blade, activating gap, slash simultaneously. Their attacks collided midair. Hong De-pyo was forced back, his advance stopped cold. Impossible! He gasped, sweat dripping down his forehead. His blood demon aura could rip apart the second-floor boss, Titan Golem. Yet this young man blocked it effortlessly. Ridiculous. Just as the two prepared to clash again, a surge of green light erupted between them. System prompt. LV4 skill, Judgment Field activated. A commanding voice followed. Enough. This tournament is being watched by the entire world. Show them strength worthy of respect. Isn't that right, Awakeners? The speaker was none other than Han Sang-jin, president of the Awakener Guild. Jang Jun-hyuk looked toward him, puzzled. Why would the leader of all domestic Awakeners show up here in person? Hong De-pyo, seething with anger, began complaining to Han Sang-jin, accusing Jang Jun-hyuk of injuring his guild's members. But Han Sang-jin only replied calmly, "It was a match. Getting hurt is part of competition." Then he turned and walked toward Jang Jun-hyuk. As he approached, his mind replayed the report he had received 20 minutes earlier. The tournament supervisor had warned him about a mysterious player, F rank, but displaying absurdly high combat power. Han had immediately ordered an internal investigation. The results shocked him. Jang Jun-hyuk had pressured the evaluator himself to lower his rank. So that's what happened, Han thought. Smiling slightly instead of scowling, he stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Mr. Jang Jun-hyuk, congratulations. You are officially recognized as the 16th S-rank player in the country. That on behalf of the association, I apologize for the mistaken evaluation and the inconvenience it caused." S-rank. The announcement hit like a bomb. Reporters went wild, cameras flashing nonstop as the crowd erupted. Hong De-pyo stood frozen, his face pale with disbelief. At his feet lay Zhang Du-hyen, unconscious and humiliated. The one who was supposed to shine in front of the cameras had been completely overshadowed. Desperate to salvage something, Hong grabbed a nearby reporter. "Our Dark Cloud Guild will soon reveal a special strategy to clear the third-floor boss." But the reporter barely noticed. He had already sprinted off toward Jang Jun-hyuk, leaving his jacket behind. Hong De-pyo stared blankly at the coat in his hands, lost in thought. Meanwhile, Jang Jun-hyuk stood beneath a storm of flashing lights, basking in the spotlight. Hong's expression dimmed, his pride collapsing. Silently, he dropped the jacket and walked away. System prompt. Copy condition fulfilled, skill acquired, blood demon, aura. As the nation's 16th S-rank awakener, Jang Jun-hyuk had become an overnight sensation across the internet. Even the president of the Awakener Association, upon learning of his trip to Las Vegas, personally arranged a private jet for him. On board, Jang Jun-hyuk relaxed, savoring the luxurious in-flight meal. Suddenly, a serious voice echoed from his ring. It was Alice. "Jun-hyuk, look at the man in white sitting 2 rows ahead. He reeks of something foul. For a vampire to feel disgusted by a human, this man was definitely not ordinary." Jang Jun-hyuk immediately activated Eye of Truth. His pupils contracted sharply the moment the scan completed. The name displayed, Alex Felson. Copy condition, join the Demon Association. So, Jang Jun-hyuk thought, behind that calm smile, hides a complete lunatic. At that exact moment, Alex casually approached. "You're the new S-rank from Korea, aren't you?" he asked, his tone friendly yet oddly unsettling. Being targeted by a demon wasn't a coincidence. Jang Jun-hyuk could already sense hidden motives. Still, he kept his composure and admitted it with a calm smile. Alex's grin widened as he pulled out a black business card, embossed with a crimson sigil. "Would you mind joining me for a drink?" he asked smoothly. Jang Jun-hyuk decided to humor the man. If Alex wanted to play games, he'd play along. So he didn't refuse. Over drinks, the two exchanged polite smiles and meaningless small talk. Swirling his wine, Alex spoke casually. "I came to Tea Country for business, of course, but I'm also looking to expand into the awakening industry." He sighed dramatically. "Unfortunately, I ran into a little complication." Then, with a probing tone, he asked, "Tell me, have you heard of that mass player making headlines lately?" "Unknown." Jang Jun-hyuk nodded calmly. "Yeah, rumor has it he's planning to solo the 3rd floor." "Exactly," Alex replied, sounding annoyed. "Our company planned to join the raid, but he ruined everything. He claims it's to protect his teammates, but honestly, he just wants all the rewards for himself." Jang Jun-hyuk tilted his head slightly. "From what you're saying, it sounds like you know him personally." "Of course. Alex said without hesitation. Inside, Jang Junhyuk nearly laughed. This idiot is lying straight to the face of the man he's talking about. Alex seized the moment, smiling smoothly. Mr. Jang, how about a partnership? You and I, raiding the third floor together. Jang Junhyuk replied evenly, but Unknown already declared that no one's allowed to enter while he's inside. Ah, but S-rank players have special privileges, Alex countered. With you there, we could legally enter, and together, we might even find the hidden artifact in the boss chamber. At that moment, Jang Junhyuk understood everything. So that's your angle, using me as your pass to bypass the guild blockade. He shook his head. Sorry, I just got my S-rank classification. I'm not planning to make every guild my enemy. At least, not yet. Alex chuckled softly. Understandable that you're a cautious man. But as a businessman, I never make a deal without fair payment. Alex smiled faintly, lowering his voice. Tell me, have you ever heard of a miracle elixir? No matter how close you are to death, disease, fatal wounds, it heals you instantly. As he spoke, he pulled out a small vial glowing softly in his palm. This, he said, is holy water, divine power in liquid form. Just one drop, and even a dying man could walk again. Such a priceless item. Yet Alex slid it across the table without hesitation. Consider it a down payment, he said smoothly, for your cooperation. Then he smiled wider, eyes glinting. Of course, I'll just need your signature on this contract first. System prompt. Alex has activated the skill, Contract of the Dead. Jang Junhyuk smirked inwardly. The document looked ordinary enough, but he knew better. Once the signer broke its promise, the contract would turn into a death scroll that claimed their life. As long as he didn't sign, there was no risk, he calmly pushed the paper back, explaining that he needed to be cautious about his relations with the major guilds. Alex sighed softly, his tone carrying faint regret. In that case, return the holy water to me. But Jang Junhyuk only smiled faintly and waved his hand. I may be careful, he said evenly, his eyes glinting with greed. But I'm also the kind of man who takes whatever he wants, no matter the cost. Alex's face twisted, his voice rising. What the hell are you talking about? The next instant, the entire cabin shook violently, turbulence roaring through the plane. Are you insane? Alex shouted, eyes wide in disbelief. You're releasing that much mana on an airplane? Then, just as suddenly, the shaking stopped. A calm flight attendant's voice came over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we just passed through a pocket of warm air. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Jang Junhyuk murmured under his breath, a faint smile on his lips. Guess I'd better follow instructions. Alex clenched his jaw. You knew who I was from the start, didn't you? Jang nodded calmly. Your acting's not bad, I'll give you that. Alex's tone darkened. You'll regret this. Even Unknown will make you pay for it. Jang laughed coldly. Who are you trying to fool? Your people got humiliated by Unknown during the Olympus meeting, and you still dare claim you're on his side? Alex's expression stiffened, horror flashing across his eyes. How did this man know that? Was he connected to Unknown, or did his new S-rank status give him access to secret intel? Still, it was also possible that his new S-rank status had earned him access to shared intel from other guilds. As Jang Junhyuk stood to leave, he gave one last jab. You know, if you'd been a bit more polite earlier, I might have told you something about Unknown. With a parting smirk and a quiet, see you next time, the plane touched down smoothly. Stepping out into the open, he was greeted by a vast city skyline. Glass towers, neon signs, and the hum of modern life blending into a dazzling urban rhythm. So this is a human city? Alice looked around wide-eyed. Not bad at all. As a reward for helping him spot the demon earlier, Jang had allowed her to walk around freely. But as they strolled through the streets, his mind was already on the next move. Channeling his fusion ability, he merged True Sight with blood magic gear. System prompt. Fusion complete. New skill acquired. Eye of Gluttony. Eye of Gluttony negates all barriers, grants shared vision and mind reading, but overuse may corrupt the user's sanity due to blood magic interference. Though Jang Junhyuk knew there were better fusion methods, this was the best he could manage for now. Just then, Alice tugged at his sleeve, pointing excitedly at a lavish, brightly lit building. Are we going in there? Jang shook his head calmly. You can't use magic in that place. We're heading somewhere much more interesting. The moment she heard the word interesting, Alice's crimson eyes lit up. Soon, the two arrived at a much smaller, far less impressive building. Alice frowned. This shabby little place? Are you sure this is fun? Before he could answer, a man outside yelled, I saw him cheating with my own eyes. Another guy with dyed yellow hair got punched square in the face, shouting back, Oh, shut up. You used a skill too. Remember this, someone laughed. Losers here are just idiots. Jang smirked to himself. He's not wrong. They stepped inside. The place was dim, smoky, and packed with noise, a rough charm that oddly suited the mood. Then, without warning, Jang lifted Alice off the ground, setting her gently in a nearby seat. Give her whatever she wants to drink, he told the waiter. I'll cover the bill. Alice blinked in confusion. He was seriously planning to leave her here? Relax, Jang whispered. I'm just going to earn a few chips for the auction that I won't be long. Meanwhile, at another poker table, Pedro activated his skill, Source Lock, preventing anyone from tampering with the cards as he drew two from the deck. Seeing his hand, he let out a quiet sigh of relief. He'd already lost over 50 grand to the calm man sitting across from him, but luck seemed to be turning. This was his chance to win it all back, and maybe more. Jang Junhyuk tapped the table lightly, deep in thought. A moment later, he slid all his chips forward and said evenly, all in. He glanced up with a faint smile. That's quite a sum. You sure you can handle it? Pedro grinned confidently. Of course. By the way, Jang Junhyuk asked casually, which guild runs this place? Pedro answered instinctively. It's operated by the Scavenger Guild. Then he frowned. Why is he asking that all of a sudden? What? Jang said lightly. Customers can't ask questions here. Pedro waved his hands quickly. Of course you can, sir. Ask away. Still, a bead of sweat rolled down his temple. Is he using some kind of mind-reading skill? Watching my every reaction? Whatever he thought. Time to reveal the cards. With Source Lock active, no one else could cheat. But he could have a smirk crossed his face as he triggered his second skill, Sleight of Hand. The cards flipped open, and his grin vanished instantly. Nothing had changed, his skill had failed. Pedro froze. His skill hadn't worked. Jang Junhyuk looked at him calmly, almost pitying the man who tried such a cheap trick. Then he revealed his card with a faint smirk. Looks like I win. Under the power of Eye of Gluttony and Anubis's judgment, Pedro's tricks were nothing but a joke. As Jang reached out to collect his winnings, a shout broke the tension. Hold it right there. A rush of footsteps followed as a group of men closed in around him. Jang immediately understood. They weren't planning to let him walk out with the money that he chuckled coldly. So, this is how you treat your customers? The red-haired man sneered. Anyone who wins that much cash stops being a customer. Grab him, another barked. Jang let out a soft, mocking laugh. A sharp whistle cut through the air. You know, he said calmly, I just remembered something I heard when I first got here. Right. Anyone who loses here is an idiot. Seeing things had gone this far, Jang Junhyuk sneered. You want to play rough? Fine. Don't blame me for hitting back. A bullet whizzed past his shoulder as he dodged effortlessly. In the next instant, he grabbed the shooter's arm, twisted it, and slammed the man face first onto the floor. The other gamblers didn't flee. They cheered, as if watching a live brawl for entertainment. Meanwhile, Alice swirled her glass lazily. What's this drink called? She asked. The Kiss of Fire, the bartender replied. It represents lovers consumed by passion, burning in desire. Passion? Huh. Alice murmured, then scoffed softly. How boring. At the same time, the casino manager was losing his mind. Where's the guild backup? He shouted. At least 30 minutes out, his assistant replied. Cold dread gripped his chest. This man was far stronger than expected. Another employee rushed in, shouting, Boss, big problem. Bigger than this mess? The red-haired manager snapped. But when he saw the file in the man's hands, his expression turned to sheer horror. The name glared back at him. Jang Jun-hyuk, newly ranked S-Class Awakener. There were barely 20 S-Class individuals in all of Las Vegas, and he just picked a fight with one. "Stop," he screamed. The red-haired man tore open his collar, then dropped to his knees. "Honored guest, we failed to recognize your greatness. Please, forgive our foolishness." Jang Jun-hyuk quickly realized they must have found out about his S-rank status. Their sudden shift from arrogance to groveling made his stomach turn. "Still," he said coolly, "I'm not unreasonable. Return my winnings in full, at a compensation that satisfies me, and we'll pretend this never happened." Moments later, his phone chimed with a transfer notification, payment received. At that very moment, his prearranged ride pulled up. It was a private vehicle reserved for the upcoming auction. Inside, the windows were blacked out, showing nothing of the outside world. He couldn't help but think, they really go all out to keep this place secret. When the car finally stopped, he stepped out before an elegantly designed building glowing with warm light. From inside the ring, Alice's impatient voice rang out. "Let me out already." A soft tap echoed as her boots hit the marble floor. She glanced around, admiring the ornate interior, and grinned. "Now this suits my noble vampire status." "Keep it down," Jang warned. "We're here to stay under the radar." The auction hall buzzed with people, each one scheming beneath polite smiles. As they passed through the crowd, whispers filled the air about what rare treasures would appear tonight. Ever since the Tower of Trials emerged, relics beyond imagination had flooded the market, and everyone wanted a piece. Just then, Alice's expression shifted. She caught a strange scent in the air. It was the stench she despised most, the smell of a demon. A smooth, mocking voice followed. "Well, fancy meeting you here. Name's Julius Cadrick. I'm the teacher of that idiot beside me." Seeing Alex's swollen, bruised face, Jang Jun-hyuk smirked faintly. "Eye of Gluttony, activate." His pupils shimmered as a flood of data filled his mind. Julius's full status panel. The man's innate skill was surprisingly powerful, perfectly complementing his necromancer class. Then came the system prompt. Copy condition. Enroll in Julius's black magic course and achieve a grade of A or higher. Jang nearly rolled his eyes. "Seriously? Is the system trolling me now?" Julius carried on smoothly. "I came here to ask what you know about unknown." "Next time," Jang replied flatly, already turning to leave. Julius raised his staff, blocking the way. "Afraid there won't be a next time, I'm on a tight schedule." Jang shrugged. "Then that's not my problem." With that, he grabbed Alice by the wrist and strode off. Behind them, Julius stopped the furious Alex, saying coolly, "Easy, I have my own way of teaching him a lesson." On the other side of the hall, Alice frowned. "Want me to take care of those demons for you?" Jang Jun-hyuk sighed softly. "Not the time for that." A voice echoed over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, the auction is about to begin." Jang entered the grand hall with Alice at his side. The very first item caught his eye, a meteorite with a starting bid of 100,000. It seemed cheap, but Jang knew the truth. That was only because no one had yet mastered the art of forging with star iron. He raised his paddle. 300,000. Confident, he leaned back, certain it would be his. But then a cold, mocking voice cut through the air. 1 million. It was the same group of demons he'd crossed earlier. Jang's eyes narrowed. What are they playing at? Yet each time he placed a bid, they immediately doubled it, laughing quietly among themselves. After several rounds, the pattern was clear. They weren't here for the auction. They were here for him. Jang smirked. "All right then," he murmured. "Let's play your little game." From that point on, Jang Jun-hyuk went all in, raising his paddle for nearly every item, useful or not, sometimes before the auctioneer even finished speaking. Julius followed every bid, determined not to let him win a single thing. Each time, Jang would drive the price up into the millions, and Julius would smugly double it and bite out. After burning through several million already, Alex hesitated. Master, aren't we spending too much?" Smack! Julius struck him across the head. "Idiot! What if he actually gets something he wants? It's wasteful now, sure, but if we can grab the thing he's after, we can trade it for the information we need. Then the next item appeared, an antique said to be the very first chessboard ever made. Most of the audience looked bored, but to Alice's confusion, Jang raised his paddle. 50,000. 100,000. Julius countered immediately. 150. 500,000.1 million. Julius sneered. 8 million. Jang paused, then calmly said 10 million. A beat of silence, then Julius's low chuckle. 30 million. He grinned. So this is the thing you really want, huh? But Jang's limit was only 10 million. His expression hardened. He'd already made Julius waste 70 million, yet the man still had that much left to burn. Just as Julius was about to win the bid. 100 million. Alice rose to her feet, her voice cutting through the entire hall like thunder. Julius froze. That 800 million. For a chessboard? Was she insane? Alice only shot Jang a confident glance, as if to say, relax, I've got this. Refusing to back down, Julius grit his teeth. Ready to counter. 110 million. 200 million. Alice interrupted coldly. Her crimson eyes narrowed, flashing with regal contempt. The aura around her shifted. Pure dominance. That look alone shattered Julius's composure. You're bluffing. There's no way you have that kind of money. Even the auctioneer hesitated. Miss, can you provide proof of funds? Alice gave a low chuckle and raised her hand. The air behind her rippled open, revealing a dark dimensional rift. Will this do? Countless treasures poured out in a blinding cascade. Gold, jewels, and ancient relics spilling across the marble floor until they formed a mountain of gold. One stunned staff member picked up a jewel-encrusted crown, whispering, "This alone is worth at least $500 million. Alice crossed her arms, smiling faintly. What's wrong? Haven't you people ever seen real wealth before? Jang Junhyuk couldn't help but grin in disbelief. Now that was top tier, absolutely top tier. Julius, meanwhile, was numbed. He turned to Alex with a dead expression. We lost this one. Move to plan B. Seeing Alice win the chessboard for him, Jang didn't even know how to thank her. Alice shrugged lightly. I just needed to clear out some of my overflowing inventory. Besides, I couldn't just sit there and watch someone embarrass my contractor. Jang blinked. He hadn't expected something that cute from her and felt a small warmth rise in his chest. But the next second, an explosion of fire burst behind them. Screams filled the auction hall as the building seemed ready to collapse. People ran in chaos. A blade flashed through the smoke. Leaving so soon? Alex howled, cutting down several people in a frenzy. He then activated his skill, Mana Furnace. The air warped violently. Everyone clutched their heads in agony as the psychic pressure tore through their minds. Cries echoed everywhere, even the desperate sobs of children hiding in corners. Jang's gaze turned icy. You disgusting bastard, you've crossed the line. Alex smirked, using the fallen bodies as conduits to summon one blood fiend after another. Staring at the unshaken Jang, he sneered, as expected of an S-class, still standing through my spell. But don't worry, he hissed with a twisted grin. I'll return every ounce of humiliation you gave me on that plane. Death won't be your end. Go, kill Jang Junhyuk. As soon as the words left his mouth, several blood fiends lunged straight at Jang Junhyuk. The impact sent shockwaves across the hall, but Jang dodged through them like a ghost, blades flashing, debris scattering. Alex frowned, scanning the area. Where did that little rich girl go? You're too ugly. She didn't want to see you, Jang muttered under his breath. While thinking, the mana furnace drained most of my energy. I can't summon Alice right now. And that corruption is spreading fast. I don't have much time left. His figure blurred. Grave of the Sword ignited. Several blood fiends fell, frozen mid-strike, split clean in half. Wonderful, truly wonderful. Alex laughed mockingly. In the next instant, the magic circle in his hand flared, channeling dead souls as crimson streams into his grasp. Within moments, new blood fiends formed beside him, while the fallen ones stirred again. Jang realized instantly, Alex was relying on endless resurrection to wear him down. An army of corpses? Pathetic. Jang's tone turned cold. That's not enough to kill me. He raised his hand. Solar radiance erupted, flooding the hall in blinding light as divine fire rushed to melt every fiend in sight. But Alex was ready. He had read Jang's profile. He pulled his monsters in front of him as a living shield. Then, shock, none of them moved. Frost bloomed beneath their feet, spreading like wildfire across the marble floor. Jang exhaled a mist of freezing air, eyes gleaming like blades of ice. Alex's pupils shrank. He finally understood. Jang had used the light as a distraction, concealing a simultaneous cast of ice magic beneath it. A flash of light burst through the air, striking Alex square in the chest. He staggered a few steps, then collapsed helplessly onto the floor. His eyes widened in disbelief, refusing to accept what had just happened. Every one of his blood fiends was gone, truly dead this time, beyond resurrection. Jang Junhyuk approached, slowly from behind. Alex spun around and threw a smoke bomb in panic. I have to get out of here, he thought, panic flooding his mind. Just moments ago, he had the upper hand. Now he was being crushed that he had to retreat to regroup with his teacher. But before he could take another step, a throwing knife sliced through the haze, burying itself deep in his back. As the smoke cleared, Jang's calm voice echoed. Bullseye. He strode forward, gaze sharp as a blade. You wrecked this place, and you still think you can run? Soon, your blood will fill your lungs, and you'll drown in it. But if you cooperate, I might spare you that pain. Jang lifted the vial of holy water before him. Tell me what you know about the demons, and this will be your life. Alex's eyes flickered with hope. He tried to speak, but his throat was full of blood. Only a wet gasp came out. No words, just the sound of his life slipping away. He gave up on speaking and began writing on the floor, using his own blood as ink. But before he could finish, a heavy boot crushed the letters with a sharp crack. Since you won't talk, Jang said coldly, don't blame me for what happens next. Alex cursed silently. You bastard, you never intended to listen in the first place. Jang pulled something from his pocket. This, I don't need it. You can have it back. It was Alex's business card. Do me a favor, Jang sneered. Die slowly and make it hurt. You scum. After dealing with the filth, Jang searched the wrecked hall and found two treasures gleaming among the rubble. One was the heart of the sea dragon, the other a safe crafted by Michelangelo, both rare components needed for a high-capacity subspace backpack. With all materials gathered, Jang activated the fusion system. System notification, you have obtained high-capacity subspace backpack. Just then, a gentle voice called out, excuse me. Two figures appeared behind him, the auctioneer and her young assistant, both pale but alive. The auctioneer bowed deeply. Thank you for stopping Alex. You saved us. The boy peeked out from behind her, whispering softly, Thank you, sir. Remembering that she was the auctioneer, and realizing he had almost walked away with two priceless items for free, Jang Junhyuk scratched his head awkwardly. I'll pay for those treasures properly, he said. The auctioneer just smiled softly. No need. Before I passed out, I saw you kill that demon with my own eyes. You saved not only me, but my only son. Please, accept those items as our gift. Jang blinked in surprise. It was the first time anyone had given him loot out of gratitude. Unexpected, but not unpleasant. Meanwhile, on the third floor of the Tower of Trials, inside a grim place known as the Church of Abomination, footsteps echoed. Someone had just finished disarming the traps littered throughout the hall. Why do we have to face the same traps every damn time? She complained. The man beside her snapped, stop whining. After what happened with Alex, I'm not in the mood. Oh, so now I'm supposed to care about your mood too? Melina shot back, her tone icy. Tension crackled between them. Enough, both of you. A hooded man stepped from the shadows, lifting a gloved hand. You two have worked together for over a decade, yet you still bicker like children. Can't you learn to give each other some space? He sighed, voice lowering. I called you here for a reason. There's someone new in the tower. A man named Jang Jun-hyuk, be on your guard. Melina scoffed lightly. Jang Jun-hyuk? Maybe he's decent, but he's just another mid-tier player. The masked man's tone hardened. Don't underestimate him. His progress may surpass even ours. Melina frowned. Impossible. Anyone who's cleared 20 floors gets treated like royalty by the guilds. The other man nodded. We only chose this obscure VR game to hide from Interpol, though we know the tower inside and out, but no one else would have that kind of reason. No normal person would play something this punishing. Unless, he added dryly, they're a complete lunatic. The masked man noticed the two in front of him clearly weren't taking his words seriously, but he himself stayed on alert. His tone turned cold. Anyway, the two of you will follow Kadric from now on. Make sure that mission gets done. Elsewhere, outside the Tower of Trials, Lee Tae-min was fully geared up, serving as sparring partner for Yu Yunhwa. Yunhwa raised her leg and kicked hard. BM, the impact sent the padded shield flying out of Tae-min's hands. You okay? She asked quickly. Tae-min just grinned, raising a thumbs up. That kick packed a punch. During their break, Tae-min pulled out his phone. Hey, check this out, it's wild. On screen was a live stream showing Unknown attempting the tower's third-floor challenge. The location, a strange temple known as the Temple of the Human Face Tree. There stood an ancient tree said to grant powerful rewards if one could answer 3 of its impossible riddles. No one had ever succeeded. In the stream, a calm man stood before the tree. It was Jang Jun-hyuk, the player known as Unknown. Answer the tree's 3 questions, the announcer explained, and you can claim 1 reward hidden within its crimson leaves. But fail, and you'll suffer a punishment worse than death. Jang muttered under his breath. All right, let's get this over with. The tree's gnarled mouth creaked open. Tell me, the ideal depth and temperature for the sea beast Kalegon's habitat. What kind of psycho question is that? Tae-min and Yunhwa shouted at once. Depth, 175 meters. Temperature, 1.5 degrees. Jang replied casually. The entire chat went dead silent. Next question, he urged, before the tree could even confirm. That was the answer. The tree paused, its bark twisting in irritation. It decided to ask something even harder. The tree's second question echoed through the temple. Tell me, the proper method for consuming a Perianese sponge. Without hesitation, Jang replied, use sun desert salt and the holy water of a priest who's been reassigned twice. Simmer over low heat for 5 hours. The tree went quiet for a beat, then muttered, correct again. Final question, it rumbled. The sky eagles of the high plateau mate only once per year. When is that? Buzz. Jang hit the answer switch immediately. When the tower sees its first snowfall. The tree froze, then burst into laughter. Congratulations, you're the first human to answer all my questions correctly. Watching the live stream, the audience exploded in a W. No one understood a word of what he said, but that didn't stop them from spamming the chat. He's insane. This guy's a genius. As promised, the ancient tree allowed Jang to choose a leaf of any color. Red leaves granted flame power. Yellow leaves boosted defense. Green leaves increased movement speed. He's going for the boss next, Yunhwa speculated, so he'll probably pick the green one for mobility. Hand over your hidden black leaf, Jang said flatly. The entire audience fell silent. The tree's bark trembled. How do you know about that? It stammered. If you choose the red leaf, I'll throw in the green one as well. Deal? Jang's tone sharpened. Don't insult the honor of the tree spirits. You know what happens if I report this to the tower's overseer. Damn you, the tree roared. Withering curse, activate. System message. The tree spirit has fulfilled its vow. You have obtained black maple leaf times 1280. Effect. Each black leaf grants unyielding attack power, increasing enemy damage taken by 1% every 3 minutes. Now then, Jang Jun-hyuk muttered. All preparations to raid the 3rd floor boss are complete. He smirked faintly. But before I go, I might as well clean you up too. Meanwhile, outside the Temple of the Human Face Tree, a squad of guild members stood guard before the boss room's entrance. Their duty was simple. Keep everyone else out while Unknown challenged the floor. When word spread that he'd already started the fight, the guards relaxed, thinking their job was almost over. No one's crazy enough to come here anyway, one of them joked. But a second later, clang, a weapon hit the ground. The two remaining guards turned pale. Their comrades had vanished into thin air. A surge of black miasma erupted, binding them where they stood. From the shadows emerged a host of demons. I could see their head. Julius growled, "We can't wait any longer. That man's already begun." At the same time, Unknown's live stream was now live to millions that on camera. He wore his usual cool, unreadable expression. The chat exploded. Viewers argued whether he'd survive this time. "Shut up," he said flatly. "What's with this attitude?" The chat spammed. "Don't like it?" "Leave," Jang replied, his tone icy. In truth, it was all part of the show. Some streamers win viewers by acting cute or friendly. But Jang knew that a cold, untouchable persona drew its own kind of audience. Gradually, the chat filtered itself out, leaving only the loyal ones, the fans who loved that ruthless, no-nonsense energy. Suddenly, a massive shockwave of battle rolled in from a distance. Jang Junhyuk's expression hardened. "The boss chamber is huge. Did someone else sneak into the human face temple while I was here?" Without hesitation, he covered the camera lens. "That's all for today's stream," he said flatly, ignoring the flood of protests from viewers, then instantly ended the broadcast. Meanwhile, on a battlefield not far away, the demon forces were unleashing torrents of dark magic, commanding waves of summoned beasts against the boss's army. Armored soldiers and skeletal warriors clashed head-on, colliding with endless ranks of the boss's clay soldiers. From a nearby hill, Jang narrowed his eyes. Those summoned creatures, they're actually stronger than the boss's troops. The demons were slowly gaining the upper hand. But the next moment, one of them was impaled by a sudden shard of ice. What the? More and more ice spikes appeared out of thin air, raining down on the battlefield. The demons desperately raised barriers of magic, struggling to withstand the frost storm. Then, through the haze of frozen mist, they saw him. "You bastard!" Julius roared. "Kill him!" Arrows screamed through the air. Jang moved like lightning, weaving through the army's ranks, dodging every shot with ease. In a flash, he raised his hand, activating Heart of Protection. A surge of divine power rippled outward, sapping the summoned creature's strength, and even weakening the demons' control over their own army. A flash of cold light. Suddenly, the armored soldiers turned on their masters, charging straight toward the demons. "Third outpost has fallen," one of them shouted in panic. "I can see that," Julius snarled. He had established 4 strategic outposts to hold the line against the boss, with the third lost. If the first fell as well, his entire command front would collapse. Meanwhile, through the flames, Jang Junhyuk pressed forward. He lured a massive battle golem, one of the boss's summons, and directed it straight toward the demon encampment. The enemy prepared to dodge. Jang appeared right before them. Going somewhere? Boom! The stone colossus launched into the air, then crashed down like a mountain, flattening everything beneath it. Nearby, more demons were screaming reports through magic links. Julius gritted his teeth again. "I can see it. You bastard, ruining my plans over and over. You want to die that badly?" Dark energy surged around him as he shouted, "Guardian of the Pyramid, activate." "Wait, that spell for the boss fight." One of his men cried. "Shut up," Julius roared. "I'll kill him right here." "Awaken," he chanted, and golden mummies burst from the ground, glowing with cursed energy. The backlash hit him hard. His knees buckled from mana exhaustion. "Master Julius, are you all right?" A follower rushed to support him. "Help me up," Julius wheezed, then suddenly gripped the man's shoulder. Wow, the demon gasped. In the next instant, his body withered at terrifying speed, leaving behind only a shriveled corpse. As the corpse crumbled to dust, Julius's mana spiked, rising like a storm. Jang Junhyuk frowned. That he's draining his own men? The cruelty of it was staggering. The black cloak ripped apart in the surge of power, revealing eyes blazing with molten gold and crimson fire. "I've kept you waiting," Julius hissed, his grin twisting with madness. "Now, let's start over." With a violent swing of his staff, countless golden mummies erupted from the ground, flooding the battlefield in eerie light. Their bandages gleamed like steel, merging attack and defense into one, absorbing magic, reflecting damage, the ultimate undead monsters. Unknown found himself pressed hard, surrounded by a wall of relentless death. Watching from afar, Melina exhaled softly. "It's been a long time," she murmured, "since I've seen Julius this angry." At first, Unknown was right to wipe out Julius's followers, but he had underestimated Julius's own power. The necromancer was already half celebrating, convinced victory was his. "Looks like we won't even have to step in," Li Cho smirked. But Melina froze mid-breath, her gaze narrowing. On the battlefield, Unknown wasn't struggling. He was dancing, gliding along the edge of every strike like a blade himself. Inside, Jang Junhyuk drifted into a strange calm. In that stillness, an old memory surfaced. A sword master once told him, "Your strikes are sharp, but your power scatters because you try too hard." The master lifted a thick rope and said, "A true swordsman doesn't just strike harder. He channels the same strength into a hundredfold impact. Like the wind, swift, fluid, and graceful. And when the moment comes, unleash it all at once." That day's memory flashed vividly through Jang Junhyuk's mind, so real it almost burned. Then the system chimed, skill fragment detected, Soul Reaper sword dance, your mastery has greatly increased. In that instant, the short blade in his hand roared with power, its strength magnified 100-fold. Mummies, golems, everything before him shattered like paper and stone. Julius watched in horror as each slash tore open the air itself, forming a spiraling vortex of devouring mana. The storm pulled in all magic around it, swallowing even light itself. With a deafening boom, the vortex burst outward, unleashing waves of sword energy. Soul Reaper sword dance, 5th form, Heaven's End. The devastating aura swept across the battlefield, reducing the golden mummies to dust. Cornered, Julius activated Twin Shield, desperately trying to block the strike. "Impossible," he cursed inwardly. The trial tower became real barely half a year ago. How can this kid be this strong? His staff cracked under the pressure, and his body flew backward like a rag doll. Dust erupted everywhere, swallowing the battlefield whole. When it cleared, Julius crawled out, trembling like a beaten dog. Fear took hold. He finally realized he couldn't win. "Protect me! Hurry!" he screamed, calling frantically for Melina and the others. The only reply Julius got was Unknown's cold voice. "You and your student, truly two of kind. Full of pride at first, but the moment things go wrong, you both run and hide like cowards. Guess he learned that from you." Julius froze, realization dawning in his eyes. "It's you, you're Jang Junhyuk." Junhyuk smirked. "Do me a favor. Say hi to your student. I'd hate for him to be lonely, so I'll send you to keep him company." With a flash of his blade, Julius's body split apart, collapsing in silence. Across the battlefield, the summoned skeletons and death knights began to crumble into dust. The remaining demons were soon welcomed by the army of stone soldiers. Meanwhile, Jang Junhyuk stepped into another ancient temple. The 5th form of the Soul Reaper sword dance had drained much of his mana, but he planned to recover and use the momentum to seize another hidden relic. Along the way, Jang Junhyuk spotted an old shield that had been blasted across the hall. He slung it onto his back, a faint smile crossing his lips that it had been a long time since he last used one. The memory echoed like a whisper, "Right, kids?" A thunderous crash split the air as the floor cracked open. 4 towering figures emerged from the dust, the guardians of the temple, the 4 heavenly kings. Determined to claim the hidden skill, Junhyuk stepped forward to challenge their avatars. The king sneered, ready to mock him for his arrogance. But before a word could leave their lips, his shield rang out, deflecting their strikes. His movements blurred like lightning, weaving between them with deadly precision. A single flash of the blade. Two of the kings fell before they even realized what had happened. "Hand over the key," Jun Hyuk said coldly. Terrified, one of the remaining kings stumbled backward. His hands clenched as a surge of green light erupted from his palms. And in the next instant, a golden lotus key shimmered into existence. But the next second, the heavenly king suddenly drove the golden lotus key into his own body. Jun Hyuk froze, eyes widening in disbelief. A radiant lotus of light burst upward, flooding the entire temple with golden brilliance. "Can't win, so you call for help? How arrogant," Jun Hyuk muttered under his breath. Blinding light flared from the lotus crown above. A thunderous boom followed as the system alert rang out. "Thousand-armed, thousand-faced Avalokitesvara has appeared." The goddess slowly opened her countless eyes, her voice soft yet chilling. "The four heavenly kings, it's been so long since they last summoned me that I never thought anyone could actually push them this far." Jun Hyuk muttered. "Is that all? I still have to take down this floor's boss." Avalokitesvara smiled faintly, her tone cold. "Bold words, but you have no idea how high the heavens truly are." Jun Hyuk raised his shield. "Save your talk, that I'm not here to chat with a statue." Feeling his killing intense surge, the goddess's 1,000 hands unfolded, each gripping a weapon of divine light. She sneered. "Seems I made the wrong decision." The air split apart with a deafening rush. Dozens of weapons streaked toward him like meteors. The impact slammed into his shield, each blow shaking the ground beneath his feet. He steadied his breath, eyes sharp. "There's a way, 0.1 chance, only that I can't afford a single mistake." His defiance ignited the goddess's battle spirit. She laughed wildly. "Fine then, let's see how long you can last." With that, she lunged forward, divine power bursting like thunder. Frost swirled around Jun Hyuk as he activated ice sculpture. Instantly, countless spikes of ice erupted from the ground, forming a frozen barricade that halted the goddess in her tracks. The clash shook the entire hall. His ice barrier lasted only seconds before shattering into glittering shards. Yet even then, Avalokitesvara didn't smile. Her tone turned cold. "You dare use such filthy Western tricks against me?" As she spoke, something shot out from the smoke. With a flick of her finger, she effortlessly caught it in midair. "Pathetic human," she sneered. "Did you really think such a petty?" Before she could finish, a bolt of crimson lightning struck her arm. "You shouldn't talk too soon," Jun Hyuk said with a smirk. The red lightning crawled across her arm, burning deep into her form. "Impossible," she hissed. "I'm immune to poison." "What did you do?" "It's the Blood Reaver relic," Jun Hyuk replied quietly. "Once it hits you, the damage never stops." Avalokitesvara's eyes narrowed. "No matter that I won't fall for it again." Without hesitation, she ripped off her injured arm and threw it aside. Jun Hyuk frowned slightly. Figures. Losing an arm means nothing to her. The same trick won't work twice. Then, with a faint grin, he plucked a glowing blue gem from the severed limb. "But I've already taken what I wanted." The goddess's expression stiffened. Something felt wrong. "Blame yourself," Jun Hyuk whispered, "for treating your arm like garbage." He raised his hand. Fusion energy erupted as the grimoire of Feltheros merged with Avalokitesvara's sacred gem. The system chimed. "You've obtained the Key of Solomon, artifact of the Golden Dawn Order." The Key of Solomon maximizes the output of any magic cast. At the same time, Jun Hyuk activated his gluttonous eye. Instantly, he gained access to Avalokitesvara's full status screen. The condition to copy her skill read: humiliate the target through magic. Create a grand ice sculpture performance, accompanied by proper music and matching attire. Jun Hyuk muttered under his breath, "System, you're getting weirder by the minute." Under Avalokitesvara's puzzled gaze, he reluctantly took out his tiny phonograph again. "Fine, since the mandala skill only drops here, I'll play along." "What are you doing?" the goddess demanded. Don't ask, because I don't want to do this either. And so, just to provoke the boss into revealing her hidden skill, the man began dancing in front of the goddess herself, moving to the beat like a lunatic with a death wish. Furious, Avalokitesvara roared, divine energy surging. Countless spectral weapons materialized in her hands. Perish, she thundered, launching a storm of blades straight at Junhyuk. At that moment, Junhyuk's ice sculpture, amplified by the Key of Solomon, evolved into glacial creation. With a single swing of his hand, massive glaciers surged forward, flooding the temple like an avalanche. The frozen walls stood firm, blocking every weapon the goddess unleashed. Junhyuk smiled in quiet satisfaction, admiring the beauty of his own power. Avalokitesvara's face twisted in fury, her teeth grinding audibly. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows, Lee Cho and Melina watched the battle unfold. Both were stunned by Junhyuk's overwhelming strength. Lee Cho rose slowly, torn by hesitation. Their mission was to eliminate Junhyuk. Yet he knew well the power of Avalokitesvara, the second boss of the third floor. If Junhyuk could fight her evenly, there was no way the two of them could stand against him. Even if we both attack, Melina whispered, can we beat him? Not a chance, Lee Cho muttered. Hearing that, Melina turned on her heel, ready to walk away. But Lee Cho smirked darkly. If we can't beat him head-on, we'll play dirty. A black coin pulsed in his hand. The coin of Caligula, a relic capable of twisting its victim's mind for a few seconds. A wave of warped energy rippled through the air near Junhyuk. His instincts flared, something was wrong. His focus slipped for half a heartbeat, and an icy arrow sliced across his thigh. Pain shot through him like fire, but it snapped him instantly awake. Losing focus in the middle of battle, Avalokitesvara hissed. My bad, Junhyuk muttered, slamming a burst of fire element energy into his wound. The smell of scorched flesh rose as he clenched his jaw. I won't be distracted again. Frost erupted from his grimoire. Thanks for waking me up. The goddess roared and unleashed a storm of blades. Junhyuk countered, casting ice sculpture once more. Fire and ice collided mid-air, the shock wave shaking the entire temple. Pathetic, she scoffed. Know your place. Then the system's tone echoed. Boss has activated skill, Heaven's Snare. A glowing web of divine energy descended, trapping Junhyuk in a cage of light. At the same time, Avalokitesvara clasped her hands together. Golden light flared, shaping into countless arrows that rained toward Junhyuk's trapped form. Within the tight space, the air trembled with her relentless strikes. Junhyuk didn't panic. He cast glacial creation. In an instant, a massive glacier surged up from beneath him, encasing his entire body in a fortress of ice. The goddess sneered, thinking he was cowering behind defense. She stretched out one of her many arms, gripping the entire glacier in her palm. As she squeezed, divine energy erupted, 10,000 spears. Thousands of golden lances pierced through the ice, shattering the glacier into glittering shards. She smirked, certain of her victory. But then her expression froze. Looks like you fell for it again, Junhyuk's voice echoed coldly. He stepped out of the mist unharmed, frost glimmering on his blade. A surge of freezing magic rippled outward, frost spreading beneath her feet. In seconds, a Nice prison formed, sealing Avalokitesvara completely. You claim to transcend emotion through meditation, Junhyuk said calmly. Yet you despise magic? He smirked. Then consider this a little shock therapy for your arrogance. Furious beyond words, the goddess roared. I'll drag you to the deepest hell myself. At that moment, the system chimed. Condition met. You have successfully copied the skill Mandala. Mandala grants weapons a divine enhancement and allows the user to predict the direction of incoming attacks. Well, since I've got what I came for, Junhyuk smirked, tossing his wig aside. He activated Mandala, channeling glowing runes into the ice sculpture beside him. Avalokitesvara's eyes widened in disbelief. He was using her own skill. Don't worry, Jun Hyuk said calmly. I'll make good use of ITAS for you. Time's up. The enchanted ice statue came to life, its colossal hand lunging forward. It struck the goddess square in the chest with earth-shaking force. A burst of emerald light exploded outward. The stone body of Avalokitesvara shattered completely. System message: boss defeated. Avalokitesvara of 1,000 hands. Reward: Golden Lotus Key. Allows the summoning of the third-floor boss from anywhere on this level. Jun Hyuk stretched his sore shoulders, exhaling a tired laugh. What a marathon. These fights are killing me. Still, the endless battles pushed his level to 21 that after assigning all his stat points into magic, a faint warmth eased through his body. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to relax. Then his eyes snapped open. Wait, there's still one problem left. Nightfall in the Tower of Trials was never normal. When darkness came, the air turned to ice and monsters grew twice as strong. That's why most players either retreated outside or found somewhere safe to wait until morning. By a quiet riverside, Jun Hyuk sat beside a crackling campfire, deciding to rest until dawn. He grilled a few massive river prawns, rare creatures from the third-floor streams. The taste was so good that he smirked to himself. I really need to copy some cooking skills someday. Just then, the rustle of bamboo leaves broke the silence. Two figures emerged from the shadows, Lee Cho and Melina. Pretending they didn't recognize him, they smiled awkwardly. We couldn't make it out before nightfall. Mind if we warm up by your fire? Not at all, Jun Hyuk replied calmly. You both look half frozen. He scooped up a bowl of shrimp and handed it over. The smell made Melina's stomach growl. She was practically drooling. But she quickly shook her head. Thanks, but someone once told me, never accept food from a stranger, especially one wearing a mask. Jun Hyuk chuckled. If the mask bothers you that much, I could always take it off. The two exchanged a quick glance, curiosity gleaming in their eyes. The chance to see the face of the unknown was rare indeed. But, Jun Hyuk said, his tone suddenly playful, let's make a little game of it first. We barely know each other, so let's take turns asking 3 questions. After that, I'll take off the mask. No rule says you have to tell the truth, he added with a grin. Lee Cho hesitated for a moment, then nodded to Melina. All right, deal. A faint hum echoed as a coin flipped through the air, landing neatly on Melina's hand. Let's use this coin to decide who asks first, she said with a teasing smile. I'm calling heads. She lifted her finger. Heads, just as she guessed. Jun Hyuk's eyes narrowed. He could sense the faint magical pulse from it, the Caligula's coin, an artifact that could briefly control the target's mind. Melina asked casually, First question, did you come into the tower alone or with someone else? Her tone light, but her intent sharp. Alone, Jun Hyuk replied calmly, smiling faintly. My turn, he countered. You two look like you came for the boss as well. Why haven't you made move? Lee Cho shrugged. We're just waiting for the right time. Taking on a boss isn't exactly simple. Melina leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Second question, why are you climbing the tower? Money. Fame? Power. Jun Hyuk gave a dry laugh. And if I told you, could you even give me what I want? Oh, I think we could, she purred. If our goals align, you'll get more than you ever imagined. Jun Hyuk's tone turned cold. Then here's my last question. Answer it, and I'll take off the mask. His gaze sharpened. Tell me, did your demon association really think 2 of you were enough to deal with me? Melina froze for half a second, then smirked. Knew it. You already figured us out. You're strong, no doubt, she said, her voice dropping to a hiss. Didn't expect you to actually kill Avalokitesvara. But that fight must have drained you dry, didn't it? You're running on fumes now. She flicked the coin into the air, dark magic swirling around it. In that case, 1 coin is all I'll need to finish you. In the next instant, Melina activated Caligula's coin, tried to invade Jun Hyuk's mind. The air fell into an awkward silence. Nothing happened. Melina, what the hell are you doing? Lee Cho shouted. I don't know, she stammered. It's not working, did it break? Jun Hyuk smiled faintly. No, Caligula's coin isn't broken. The shadow of Anubis's judgment rose behind him as he whispered, "You just don't have any magic left to use." Plan B. Start Plan B. Li Cho yelled in panic. But without mana, Melina couldn't even move. Calmly, Jun Hyuk set the grilled shrimp onto a flat stone before him. System message. The shrine spirits are pleased with your offering. You may now select your combatants for Anubis's judgment. Combatant selected. Celestial General of the Upper Earth. Combatant selected. Celestial General of the Underworld. The ground trembled as two enormous figures materialized. Ancient guardians the likes of which they had never seen. Before them stood the twin deities of the land itself, the general above and the general below. In that moment, Li Cho realized the horrifying truth. Jun Hyuk had planned this from the very moment he started cooking. Reclining comfortably by the fire, Jun Hyuk watched like a spectator. "I'd stay still if I were you," he said lazily. "You won't get far anyway." With a thunderous boom, the general of the underworld slammed his hammer down. Skill activated. Restricted domain, glowing barrier sealed the two of them inside. Li Cho kicked off the ground, his body flashing forward like a blur. He knew their only chance of survival was to kill Jun Hyuk. If Jun Hyuk died, the summoned guardians would vanish with him. But Jun Hyuk's calm voice cut through the tension. "I told you, don't move." The general of the Upper Earth raised his colossal hand. Skill activated. One strike, one warning. The massive wooden palm came crashing down like a mountain, slamming Li Cho into the dirt and grinding him mercilessly across the ground. One blow. That was all it took. Li Cho lay motionless, his fate sealed. Melina froze, terror washing over her face. For the first time, regret flooded her heart. Why did they ever choose to cross Jang Jun Hyuk? The other guardian raised its weapon toward Melina, but froze mid-motion as Jun Hyuk's voice cut through the air. "Looks like," he said quietly, "we can finally have a proper talk." As he spoke, Jun Hyuk activated Gluttony's Eye. Yet the level gap was too great, and without his luck stat triggering, her status remained hidden. He sighed softly out of shame. "That would have saved me time. I know you're part of the Demon Association," he began, his tone measured. "But why? If you stop players from clearing the tower, humanity itself will be wiped out." Melina opened her mouth to answer, but a shout cut her off. "Don't tell him, Melina." Li Cho, bleeding and half dead, forced himself to his feet. The general of the Upper Earth responded instantly. Skill activated. One strike, one warning. The palm came crashing down. Blood splattered across the ground. Melina collapsed. Trembling, Jun Hyuk looked down at the body, muttering, "Loyalty's a fine trait, but timing is everything." Then, turning back to Melina, he said calmly, "Tell me what I want to know, and you might just live." "Information is valuable," he added with a faint smirk, "but not as valuable as your life." Melina's voice trembled. "I only know this much. The Demon Association has 12 leaders. The one who sent us is called Lancelot." Jun Hyuk's eyes flashed. He activated Gluttony's Eye again. Her words rang true. "Good," he said softly. "Now tell me, what's your real objective?" Melina's voice trembled as she spoke. "Every demon's goal is the same, to gather all 12 cursed relics hidden inside the tower. The higher-ups told us that once all relics are united, even if humanity is wiped out, we'll survive untouched and will be greatly rewarded. That's all I know," she whispered. Jun Hyuk's eyes flashed. Her words were true. The Demon Association, completely insane, he thought. After all, gathering the 12 cursed relics was the ritual needed to summon the Demon King. But if the world ends and they live on, how? The logic didn't add up. Seeing that Jun Hyuk seemed satisfied, Melina asked timidly, "So, you'll let me go, right?" "Not quite," Jun Hyuk replied. "Wait, you said you'd spare me," she cried. "I will," he said with a faint grin. "But first, you'll need to sign a contract." A cold dread ran through her chest. System message. Skill activated. Soul imprint. "Welcome to my corrupt little company, intern," Jun Hyuk said casually. The next morning, he inhaled deeply, readying himself. Everything's set, he muttered. Time to challenge the boss. The statue key shimmered into his hand. He lifted it toward the air and turned it slowly. A surge of violet light pierced the sky. The very space around him began to quake. System message. The master of the third floor has answered your call. A massive gate split open before him, ancient and divine. From its depths, countless clay soldiers surged forth, flooding the battlefield like a living tide. Who dares disturb my rest? The deep, hollow voice echoed through the air. The speaker was none other than the third floor boss, Soulless. Jun-hyuk instantly activated Gluttony's Eye, his luck stat flaring to life. In that moment, he caught a glimpse of Soulless data. Level 105. System message. Target's level 2 high. Skill replication, impossible. Soulless turned toward him. So, you're the one who used the key to summon me? As his words fell, 100,000 stone soldiers rose, filling the battlefield. Jun-hyuk smiled. My army's been waiting for this moment. System message. You have activated the oldest chessboard. System message. The ancient chessboard awakens. 2,851 magical chess pieces have been summoned. Soulless scoffed. Clever, but those tiny toys can't harm me. Jun-hyuk chuckled. Patience, this isn't over yet. System message. Applied 2,851 gionization pills to all magical chess pieces. In seconds, the chess pieces swelled in size. Towering knights, bishops, and rooks stood ready, forming a vast black and white army around him. Now then, Jun-hyuk grinned. Let's get the show started. Soulless stared at the sight, his voice low. Impressive, you're better than I expected. Jun-hyuk met his gaze, his tone sharp as a blade. Tisit, someone like you isn't qualified to judge me. Soulless opened his mouth, as if to argue back. But Jun-hyuk cut him off with a smirk. You're stuck on the third floor for a reason, because you're not strong enough to climb higher. In the tower, floor bosses weren't just gatekeepers. They could also influence their domains, and if powerful enough, even climb the tower themselves, expanding their armies. Soulless chuckled darkly. You think I stayed here because I lack strength? What else? Jun-hyuk replied coldly. Basically a ghost chained to this floor. Believe what you want. Jun-hyuk thought to himself, whether I'm provoking him or planning something else doesn't matter. But in the face of my army and superior tactics, his tone sharpened. Your fate is sealed. As his words fell, Soulless raised a hand. His first army advanced. Thousands of stone soldiers marched forward in perfect formation. Jun-hyuk recognized the move instantly. It was a probing attack. System message. The oldest chessboard's power has activated all allied chess units. Attack and defense plus 30%. Left and right flanks move, he commanded. The ground trembled beneath the synchronized march. Skill activated. Iron endurance. The two forces clashed in a thunderous collision. The real battle had begun. But Jun-hyuk's offensive wasn't over yet. The rook piece activated its skill, Sword Rain. A storm of blades sliced through the air, erasing thousands of stone soldiers in an instant. Even those with shields tried to brace against the strike. But a second command came, Flame Strike. Waves of fire rolled across the battlefield, merging with the sword storm into a burning inferno. Watching his first army crumble, Soulless finally stirred, his tone laced with excitement. So be it. Forward, he roared as another formation advanced. Meanwhile, Jun-hyuk led 2 cavalry units on a flanking charge, while the ant pieces activated wedge formation, increasing all attack damage by 200%. Crush them now, Jun-hyuk shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. The cavalry smashed into the enemy ranks, steel meeting stone in a violent clash. Soulless analyzed the battlefield carefully. He had underestimated this human's command skill. Jun-hyuk's transitions between offense and defense were flawless, his timing impeccable. But then, Soulless noticed something. A small gap on the flank of Jun-hyuk's formation, a trap, perhaps, but too tempting to ignore. System message. Soulless has activated weak point detection. In an instant, his vision filled with tactical data. The key to victory was the crown atop the board. Destroying it would halt every allied piece under Jun Hyuk's control. Only the king or queen could wield it. Soulless grinned. So that's your weakness. Once the crown falls, checkmate. Soulless' eyes narrowed, his expression turning sharp. I knew it. That gap was no accident. You wanted me to walk right into your trap. Then came the sound of soft footsteps from the rising mist. A graceful figure appeared. Wearing a jeweled crown and exuding a regal aura, she looked every bit the queen she was, the queen, Alice. Now that his opponent had revealed their hand, Soulless immediately commanded a detachment to flank the right side. 3,000 giant soldiers, each towering 15 meters tall, charged straight toward Alice's position. But Jun Hyuk's shout cut through the chaos. Attack! He ignored Soulless' move completely, driving his army straight at the boss himself. Soulless smirked. He had seen through it all. Jun Hyuk had deliberately left his base exposed, baiting him into attacking the queen's crown, only to thin out his defenses and strike at his core. Clever, Soulless murmured, but meaningless. With a single gesture, the battlefield shifted. Massive stone giants grabbed smaller soldiers by the arms and hurled them like catapults. Thousands of bodies rained down from above, crashing into Jun Hyuk's formation like meteors. The debris exploded around Alice, scattering shards of stone across her gown. When the dust finally settled, she stood surrounded on all sides. Alice glanced around, wrinkling her nose in disdain. Ugh, filthy creatures. Soulless let out a low, cruel laugh. Checkmate. Once I take the queen, the game is over. Yet, just as victory seemed certain, Soulless frowned. It was strange. Jun Hyuk's base had been breached, yet the man's expression hadn't changed at all. 10,000 against 2,000. The advantage is still mine, he muttered confidently. He had already lured Jun Hyuk deep into his own camp. Now was the time to close the net. A surge of arcane energy burst across the field. Two colossal statues materialized from thin air. Great Pure Vajra and Great Defiled Vajra. The moment they appeared, both locked onto Jun Hyuk, their killing intent flooding the battlefield. But instead of fear, a faint smile curved Jun Hyuk's lips. The situation looked dire, yet somewhere within the chaos, he had found his opening.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.